Here we go. Welcome to Bleeding Edge Red Pill. I got Billy Goat, Amanely Load, and myself here. We're going to talk about Red Pill and the vast knowledge of Red Pill, basically. So it's going to be one of those things where we talk about the vast knowledge of Red Pill and stuff along the lines of that. Because people seem to be miseducated on what the Red Pill is or where it stops at or where it begins, when in fact it pretty much continues on, and people just jump off because they think they've gotten all the Red Pill, but they've only gotten like a small chunk of it. When it's like this vast knowledge of stuff that you can possibly gain from it. It's not just about women. It's not just about looks. It's not just about any of this stuff. There's a vast knowledge to it
Yeah.
than what people actually say on the internet. So typically, this is what this bleeding edge red pill is going to be about for all intents and purposes.
It's like the never-ending story. The
Basically,
never-ending story.
Black pill ready on the house.
What's going on, guys? Can you guys hear me pretty good?
Yeah, we hear you.
Good
Sound
enough.
like you're smoking. It sound like you're smoking over there.
What's that?
Sound like you're
Sounds like I'm
smoking.
smoking?
Yeah, it sounded like you were like when you said that you were blowing out like a cigar or something like that. Can y'all hear me over there?
No, no. Because I'm
Sorry,
in my
it smells-
car right now.
Oh,
I don't
sound
have
like
the
you were
best
smoking a
internet.
Cuban. You're
Oh,
fine.
yeah. No, Mexican.
Mexican, you're smoking Mexican.
Just met her. I just met her.
Wow. Is her
Yeah,
name Quintana?
Texas I will say this. I mean, not to deviate from the conversation too much, but I will say this. I mean, for being early October, well, about a third way through October, it's 98 degrees today. I'm like, damn, it is hot when down this far down south, man.
Yeah. Apparently it's like
Yeah.
apparently it's like in the mid 70s or the 80s in like northern parts of America too.
Oh, wow. Well,
So
I'm probably gonna, but I'll be listening in. I'm gonna cut out real quick because I have to go get a better spot for reception. Give me about 5 minutes, but I just wanted to touch base with you, saying that I am going to jump in. I just heard a little bits of the conversation regarding the red pill, and the expansion of it, beyond what we would typically have been taught. Say,
yeah.
okay, guys.
Okay.
Okie dokie.
Catch you when you jump back in. Yeah. I some of this lovely team here. I call them the A team of this lovely thing.
Like pity the fool.
Right?
Please, sucker.
Right? Yeah, but it's one of those things where we're just basically going to talk about the red pill and expound upon the knowledge of the red pill, basically, because a lot of people believe that it's just this, that, and the other, when it's like way more than just what other people are trying to make it out to be or what they're trying to say it is.
Well, they like to cherry pick, and
Yeah.
they only want to
Go
take it so far. It's like you've got different levels of it. So you've got the kind of like the introductory pill, the mild dose. Then you start going on to the IV. You know.
Yeah, I agree 100%. There's more to it than just that.
Yeah.
Like it's like, yeah, you got the introductory stuff, then you got like the just the baseline stuff that everybody gets stuck on. You got other stuff where it starts going off into other knowledge, like let it be spirituality, let it be religion, let it be world events, let it be current events, let it be how to make yourself a better person, let it be workout routines, let it be diets, let it be all this stuff. It's pretty much all within this for all intents and purposes.
I think a lot of the time as well, especially in the beginning, it's very daunting because your idea of reality has just been completely disrupted and it's collapsing, and you're waking up. So you got like a lot of fear, anxiety, and all that kind of stuff going along with it. So it can be a bit off-putting. And then you've got other people who want to know more, and they go balls deep into it. And as they uncover more and more things, they realize it's like Pandora's box is opening up. And depending on their need, they pursue it further to like, am I going to just try and be a sponge and absorb absolutely everything I can? Or at what point is there a limit to it? Like, how much do I actually need to know before I can kind of like restructure my life and get on with things? So that can be a bit of a problem in itself, because if you never really get to a point of like satisfaction, and you're perpetually in search of answers on a quest, then you're not really reaching any sort of conclusion. Your life, you're not able to just live your life and just be done. I know enough to get by. I might not know everything, but that's okay. At what point
That's
do
a
you
key.
want
Yeah.
to?
Because it's one thing to try to take it all in at one time. It's another thing to take it in gradually, in increments, basically, like you're saying. Basically, it's like this is enough I need to know for right now, and I'll just basically bask it in, soak it in, learn it, let it roll around in my head a little bit, and try to get a feel of it, or try to get what I learned out of what I've already gotten from the red pill, basically. But then there's like people that'll stop and just jump off the ship, like, well, I'm going over here and I'm going to be this today. But like the sad part about that is, if you actually continue, you'll find out that you don't need to jump off and try to
Yeah,
create something brand new when in fact it's all here for you.
yeah. I mean, you get that problem where it's like you're saturated with information, especially in the beginning, and then
Yeah,
you think, right, I'm good to go. I'm ready to rock and roll. Let's get back on the horse. And then you start to slip back into that kind of blue pill mindset. So this is
hmm
why we get that kind of reminder of like, take your daily dose of red pills,
Hmm.
because if you
yeah,
don't, you're gonna
definitely take your daily
you're gonna
dose.
forget you're
Always,
gonna forget everything you've learned.
Yeah,
definitely.
along with society trying to beat down all the blue pill stuff down your throat all the time. Like we literally swimming in blue pilled knowledge and blue pilled ways of life and thoughts all day. So when you've got your own time, your own your own time, and you've got to grab hold of your own spirituality and
Yeah,
work on yourself.
very true.
And
Because
sometimes, sorry,
if you're not spiritually right, as what Billy said earlier on, you won't process the red pill knowledge correctly. It'll just be something like, you look at the red pill as like watching a soap on a couple of TV soaps on TV or some reality shows. You won't actually see it for the real knowledge that it is.
yeah, that's what I was going to sort of add on to that, which is like you need to like reassess things from time to time. And as you start learning more and more pieces of the puzzle, you kind of realize how they interconnect, and then you can kind of like backtrack a little bit, review some of what you previously learned, apply that to what you now know
Yeah,
now, and it has a whole new context, whole new meaning, more enlightenment, and it's this kind of backwards and forwards process of
trial and error.
trial and error, making mistakes, learning from your mistakes, reevaluating, reassessing, theorizing, self-reflecting. So it's kind of like an ongoing. This is what I was like saying, the never-ending story. It's like an ongoing growth, and this is where it gets into like self-improvement, because we're all trying to grow and become better. So
And this is where the sad reality of depression and suicide comes in on the knowledge, because obviously you've got external reasons for that as well. Like actual marriage splits and this, but I'm on about the knowledge side. Like you could be,
Hmm
for example, sitting in your room gathering all this knowledge, and then you start, as you say, it's like the black pill, which is just a deeper stage of the red pill. That's all it is. And so you get black pill, and you go further into it, and you go nihilist. It gets really depressing. It gets really
Yeah,
like, is there any fucking hope? What's the point in
yeah,
life?
well,
And you,
this, yeah,
you disconnect yourself from the most high in nature and the earth and each other.
yeah. I
yeah,
mean, it can become quite dangerous if someone is weak-minded. It can be quite a dangerous thing. This is why it's like the
Yeah,
red pill or black pill isn't for everybody. It
yeah,
could send people, especially if they're forcing themselves to pursue that course of action, or like that philosophy of life. It could send them over the edge. They could end up in like becoming schizophrenic, or entering psychosis or something like that.
true story. Or they can end up in a pan box too.
You
yeah,
know, or they can turn tail and be like, no, I'm going back to my blue pill delusion, and
Hmm
pile on the denial and any other magical thinking, reasoning,
yeah,
Well, the
and
sad
try
part
and
about that, Yeah, sorry about that. But the sad part about that, what I've noticed about a lot of the people that always talk about like the lookisms and stuff like that, that are very nihilistic when it comes to black pill, they typically seem to have this blue pill esque outlook on themselves. Like, oh, I'm ugly and I'll never ever get a girl, and it's over. It's over. And it's like, no, dude, let it go. Like you get annoying after a while. That's like worse than listening to my children argue about you're not touching, I'm not touching you. Like that's way annoying than that. Like
That's more. I don't like using the term because I think there's a very very thin line between red pill and incel. I think there's an extremely thin line,
yeah.
mid-term incel, very very thin, and but that's more like black pill being concerned with incel. I
Mhm.
personally don't. I see that very rarely from my point of view. I don't dive deep into the black pill. I've been a truther since I was 12, 13. You know, it's
Yeah.
almost 20. That's over 20 years I've been a truther. So I've never really been. I've been in and I've been okay. Tell a lie. I've been in and out of the black pill, and I've also been an incel. And then obviously I discovered all the POA stuff, and we introduced a few red pills, and then because because I had this inert. I'm talking about myself, my own experience there. Because I had this inert kind of overlook of being able to see female nature, but being battered with a blue pill philosophy constantly. So I just
Yeah.
accepted it. Um,
I
the
refer
same.
to them. I usually
Well,
refer to. So I'll let you continue. I usually refer to them as like emo black pillars. Is what I usually refer to those guys that do
sort
that
of.
type of
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Sort of.
Well, I did a video before. I mean, Amanely's pretty familiar with it because I keep harping on to him about it. But the more and more I think about it, the more I kind of theorize how there's a lot of blue pill. Like, for the red and black pill to exist, there must also be the blue pill.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So within us all, as much as we hate to admit it, there is an element of the blue pill. It is actually part of us. You know, it's like if you stop taking your if you stop taking your red or black pill, what are you left with? You're left with being a blue pill.
Yeah. You'll start backsliding into the blue pill
Yeah,
mindset, basically. And it sucks, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, I was always blessed for having a family who were able and capable of actually knowing the red pill and teaching their children and grandchildren it for many years to come. So I've always been blessed with that, for having a
yeah,
family that was able to do that. So it's one of those things where it's like I never really got to learn blue pill tendencies because I grew up in a third world country. It's one of those things where it's like can't really be blue pill in a third world country if you want to live.
Mhm.
It's like very hard to be blue pill when you want to live and make it to your next meal and shit like that. So
But to elaborate on that, the blue pill used to be an okay thing back, like, say 100, 200 years ago, maybe when women was slightly better.
yeah,
But blue pill's so dangerous now that you can't take your blue pills because you take your blue pills, you literally could waste your entire life, and then by the time you're 40 or 50, it's been taken away from you.
yeah. I mean, if we look at the red pill and black pill, we often call it like having the knowledge, the wisdom.
hmm
So you take that away, what does that equate the blue pill as? It's kind of like ignorance, as being naive.
yeah, a whole lot of naivete when
And,
you
and
actually just take
when
blue
you
pills.
yeah, and when you're young and you're growing through society before you're maturing, you start off being very naive, very gullible, which is very characteristic of being blue pill.
Yeah, because a good example of that is children. Like you could usually tell them something like a good example of that is like I remember my son Lazo found $100 bill and I had a one, so I said, "Here, take this one. The one is bigger, Laszlo. That means this is a bigger bill than that bill." And I traded him the $100 bill for the $1 bill, and that's basically what you get at it as a kid if you're ignorant, basically. So
Well, that's another
I never
comparison.
spent it. I just wanted to see if he fall for it, basically, and he did. I'm like, oh shit, this
Yeah, I
kid.
mean, we often say that the blue pill is very child mind like. You know, they're
Yeah,
very childish in behavior, the way they think and rationalize things out. So it just confirms even more how being blue pill is, like an immaturity.
definitely, definitely.
And
And
if they hold on to that and they physically grow into older bodies, but they retain that mindset. Oh, I just lost my train of thought. But
Take your time. Take your time. Oh, I didn't almost see the.
it just makes it. Nah, I forgot. I forgot what I was going to say about it. Never mind.
You're fine. Well, if he comes back to you, we'll just hurry up and let you talk so you won't forget it again.
Yeah.
And Grew to Ghost, definitely. I'm ready for chapter 5. Anytime you're ready for chapter 5, Pimpin'. And how Elder Monk.
As far as the red pill go as well, like people only take like, say you got a whole jar of red pills, and what I've noticed with, especially with the expansion of MGTOW and red pill in the last 2 years, it's been exponential. People only take a few red pills off the top, and then never go deeper into the jar.
Yeah, I've noticed that too with a lot of people.
Yeah.
They'll like take a couple off the top, and then they'll just be like, "Well, I'm going over here now. I'll talk to y'all later." Like, wait a minute, you didn't even take the rest of these. It's basically, because the sad part about red pills, it's basically like an antibiotic. You basically have to finish. You basically have to finish the bottle, basically, or you're going to have there's repercussions and consequences for not finishing the bottle. Hence, like we got like staph infections or bacteria or funguses that are resistant to all the antibiotics. Everybody thought, oh, I feel better now. I can stop taking these medicine and I feel better. I'll save it for a later date and time. And the sad part about that is when we say take the red pills, we really mean take the red pills.
Yeah. So exactly. So they'll only take a few off the top. So they'll go, oh, all women's evil. But then you go,
wait a minute, no, there's more to this.
Yeah, but there's a satanic fucking cult group that's controlling the planet all over the world, and I go, hang on, that's too much, man. That's too much.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna need you to finish this bottle first before you start talking about that stuff.
Yeah.
Finish the bottle, then we can talk about that. Like,
but that's what I'm trying to say. Like, they only take a few. They say, oh, with female nature's where it's at. No, the females have been made like that. They wasn't born like it.
Yeah,
They've been made over centuries.
What they're doing is they're taking just a few of those red pills to bolster their already blue-pilled framework.
Yes.
So they're operating mainly from a blue-pilled perspective, and at some point, like in modern times now, more and more men are realizing that it's not quite cutting it. It's failing them. So they're now waking up, beginning to look for answers to, not in order to wake up as we're thinking it, but they're looking to repair their fantasy so that they can continue to live in that fantasy. Yeah. And the viable way of doing that is to skim the top of the red pill, to make them feel like, now I have so-called awareness, I can now continue this blue pill dream of mine.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But they'll go around saying that, I'm red pill now, and it's like, no, you're not. No, you're still.
And typically, those people end up being what they refer to now as purple pill, even though I don't really believe in them. But that's typically what those people end up being.
Yep. And to take a quote, what Hammerhand says, and so to steal this quote, if he ever listens to this, but it's like he says, there's never been like real men for generations because of what feminism has done. Mm-hmm. And what that has caused is that there's no men fighting right now. I mean, look at all this mask wearing stupidness right now.
Oh yeah,
all the men, everybody who work hard and go home to the wives, they're all wearing masks. There's no men fighting for their freedoms anymore, and the few men that do are so far in between and sparse. It's like one red pill in a sea of blue pills. Like we connect through the internet. So if someone comes in this channel, go, look, this is a bunch of MGTOW or red pillars. But in fact, like me and Billy, we like absolutely miles apart, and you're across the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
So there's not a lot of us at all, even though it's growing exponentially. And then you've got, like, as we just spoken, and then you've got only the people taking the skim off the top. So they will never really truly be red pill until they have that spiritual awakening.
Oh, definitely.
Of like, wow, hang on, it's making sense now. I better fucking. I need a few more pills.
Yeah, right. I need a couple more of these. Like, the sad part about that is never overdose on the red pills. Take your red pills as directed as you can take it. Because like taking red pills, it varies person to person. Because you can overdose and end up on some psychosis stuff, or you can overdose and end up on some other stuff that you think is next level, but it's really not next level. And this is, you just had a mental break, Pimpin'. That's all it really is.
But it's all about knowing yourself, because obviously different people have different rates of how far they can deep. Like for me, I was pure lucky. I went straight deep in at 13, 14, 15. You know, I've been into truth of God knows that. I keep saying it. But,
Yeah.
you know, I was lucky. But that has come at a price. That has come at a heavy price at the same time. It's all about knowing yourself. You know, I didn't know myself when I was watching stuff like Davy Dyke and, you know, there could be, you know, the royal family could be shape-shifting reptilians and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, so all that kind of stuff. So I wasn't ready for none of that, and it sent me into a complete, you know, delusion of what life is. And
Yeah.
it took me like 20 years to find the manosphere and these men that have been through it all, because I was raised with by a bunch of women. So that was my individual story. So it's all about knowing yourself, and also finding the person you learn off the best, because the manosphere is so vast and so wide. You know, I've watched so many men, and I've not related to them. But I've related to a few of them, and then that's sort of like it unlocks a key. It unlocks a door. You open that door, and you go, "Well, there's a whole room of like maturity and information, and then men and jigsaw pieces to fit into your missing jigsaw piece."
Mhm.
It's just
Yeah, can I? Sorry.
yeah. Carry on. Yeah, carry on. Yeah.
Just expound a little bit on that. Knowing yourself, because what's kind of happened is that we've been separated from ourself. So it's almost a split, like in psychology, like a split. Um, so the red pill and the black pill and waking up is finding out who we are. That it's almost like we've turned our backs on the person that
Mhm.
we don't know. So it's like, who are we? We're yet to know. We're still finding out. This is why we
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of talks and live streams and discussing, because we're still finding out who we are. And when we and it's with a bit of optimism, it's good to kind of realize that a lot of us would seem to have found that part of us that we've been separated from, and we're now incorporating it. This is basically going to self-esteem and self-identity. So when we find that part of us, which could be referred to as the inner wounded child, we
Mhm.
become more complete. Um, so if we're now complete, our esteem is being restored. We have this confidence about ourselves. We don't feel lonely, um, and we have someone, as in ourself, that we can rely upon to help us through our jams and our difficulties and our problems.
Yeah.
I'd love to elaborate on that, because
Go ahead.
you spoke about the inner child, and it's you know, everybody has that voice in the head that talks to them, but apparently that's actually something that's happened to all humans. It's a self-defense mechanism. It's when you've had trauma as a child, so you have this
Mhm.
voice developed in your head, and as silly as it sounds, it's that voice that makes people kill themselves, makes people commit suicide.
They call
Listening
that
to
one
that
the inner
voice.
critic.
Say it again.
Mhm.
The
The inner.
inner critic,
Yep. And
not critic.
So like, you know what?
The inner critic.
Yeah,
Inner cricket.
Yeah,
yeah.
the
Cricket.
crickets.
Inner critique,
Cricket.
The
critique,
crickets.
the inner critique, and
Yeah.
yeah. So basically, that's a child, a traumatized child that solidified itself in your mind, and so this is where meditation and spirituality, reality should really come in. It would save a lot of men's lives, a
Oh,
lot
Yeah.
of
definitely.
people's lives. You meditate and you become the observer of that voice rather than talking with that voice.
Yeah.
And you listen to the voice, and when you listen to it back in that kind of observing state, in that mindful meditation, and you can't do this straight away. This takes practice, but and you observe it, and you actually realize it. Wow, it's a moany little fucking bitch, isn't
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Hey, that little fucking that's actually me. Fucking hell, what a
I mean,
bitch.
there is the inner critic is put there because you learn. What is it? You learn shame. It's not like something that like other emotions where it's a kind of given. But you learn to shame, and usually, not in all cases, but that is put there by parental figures. So something you could ask yourself is that voice you hear, is it, for example, your mother's voice, or is it your father's voice, or what kind of voice is that's actually in your head? Um,
Is
and
it your
that in it,
grandma's voice? Is it your granddad's
yeah,
voice?
and that will be a bit of an indicator, not in also in all cases, but in some circumstances,
Mm.
of who put that kind of low self-esteem in you, that feeling of you're not enough or I'm never enough. And this is kind of, we're beginning to brush up on narcissism here, because this is part of what develops into a narcissistic personality, is that feeling of not enough. So they have to
True.
Yeah.
compensate, and everything becomes over the top.
Yeah.
I'm not enough, so therefore I must consume everything around me in order to be enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Take selfies of these celebrities, put it on Facebook, go
Yeah.
abroad, take pictures of these. I mean, that's all fine if you want to self-reflect on your own memories. But obviously, we understand it's talking about that competition in society, on this
No, it
online
definitely is.
society that's developed in modernly. No, before the internet, it was all about how pretty's your garden next to your next door neighbours. Is my house bigger than my next door neighbours? How many items have I got? The consumerism. So it's
What kind of refrigerator? Do I got the newest, latest
yeah,
refrigerator? Do I got the newest,
yeah,
latest stove? Do I got the washing machine? Do they got the washing machine?
yeah,
How's my
exactly.
car? How's the family car? How's a regular car for my husband to go to work? That's typically what it was back in those days. But now it's
Yeah,
like, I
it's
want to take
transferred
the
to this
the most
online
poppinest.
culture.
I want to take the most poppinest butt shot, the booty shot in the for Instagram. And now
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
yeah. Wait a minute. How do we get this far? Like, wait, what? But I'm gonna kick it over to Blackville Radio before he falls out, just in case he has something to say here.
yeah. Go on, bro.
I just wanted to, sorry about that. I just wanted to touch base on this idea that everybody has the inner thought. From my observation of humanity, I would say that there are people that don't have this inner thought. And this is when you get into these ideas of people talk about things such as NPCs, such as organic portals. You hear people that when they say, "Do you remember your dreams?" and they say no, they have no
Hmm.
cognition of any dreams. I don't believe that everybody has that inner thought. I believe that's something that has been, I don't know whether through evolution or through whether it's
Genetics.
spiritual evolution or physical evolution, whatever your choice
Hmm.
you may choose. But I don't believe that everybody has that inner thought. I've interacted with enough people within society to observe that many people lack that spark. You want to call it inner thought, you want to call it the spark of the divine, whatever metaphor, right? Anything that you try to attribute that. I don't think that everybody has that. I think that when you reach a certain level of psychopathy or these extreme sociopaths, narcissists, cluster B personality
Mhm.
types, there comes a point where they lack any inhibition, any self control, any
Well,
understanding of who they are, and merely rely upon the most base animal
well,
instinctual nature.
well. The sad part about that, coming from a psychological standpoint, on that, what I've learned over the 14 years is that a lot of these people do have that voice. The question is, do they listen to that voice?
Yeah.
Or it's one of those things where what is that voice actually telling them? Because the sad part about that, people do have this all these people do have this inner monologue with themselves. Because typically how it works is a sociopath is a good example of this. If a sociopath is not getting what he wants out of this conversation, he'll typically have an inner monologue with himself to figure out how can he actually get what he wants out of this relationship out of this conversation or relationship that he has with this person, so he can actually get the benefits without reap the rewards with very little effort for all intents and purposes. So he has this dialogue with himself quite often. The same thing goes for a psychopath. The psychopath just basically wants the best benefits out of it, no matter how much energy got to be put into it. He just wants it. And the question is, there's always this checks and balance within him for him or he or she to basically keep on pushing a human being to basically get what they want. And the sad part about that, every now and again, they got to retreat back to themselves, question themselves, come up with a better way of doing it, and then they go back out and do it again with that person. It's simply how it works. But the sad part about it is happening in real time, so it doesn't seem like it's actually happening. They're having this inner monologue with themselves when in fact they really are.
Well,
And
we
when it comes
do.
to the when it comes to the good voice, the question is, are they listening to the good voice, and is there a good voice actually there? And if there is one
That's
there, are they just ignoring it?
that's the point that I was trying to make. Can you
Yeah,
hear me?
yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, that was the point I was trying to make. Is I don't believe that everybody has that portion of the inner dialogue. You know, we talk about, especially in the red pill, the MGTOW community, this idea that quite possibly women, the vast majority of women, they lack this thing called moral agency.
Hmm.
And if this is the case, you know, and many of us have come to this conclusion within the red pill community, you have to ask yourself if they lack moral agency, then they can't really be cognizant of what you would consider to be, I guess, true right and wrong.
Yeah,
You know, where they feign empathy, they feign sympathy. In other words, their capacity for what you want about empathy and sympathy is only relegated to children, and even that isn't necessarily real because just like animals in the wild, when the child, the cub or the kitten gets too old, becomes an adult, then you see this switch mechanism that takes place within the mother where she no longer observes that individual cub or individual kitten or puppy as its offspring or child anymore. You know, the dynamics change.
yeah.
Where I think adults, particularly men, have this capacity, you know, to exhibit love, empathy, compassion, you know, in perpetuity, in from the beginning of life to the end of life. And when I say that, I'm really speaking of primarily men. I don't see that within the feminine nature. Again, I see this thing that's lacking. Again, I just don't believe that most women have
Well,
um,
when it
agency. I just don't.
yeah,
I
and
think
that's the neat thing about women. It's not the fact that they don't have agency. It's more so the fact that we basically resolved them of their we resolved them of all responsibility.
Yeah.
We pretty much in this world for all intents and purposes. Because the sad part about that, you can actually literally talk to a woman for a good period of time and find out very quickly that women you can find out very quickly that women actually have some moral agency, especially because you'll see it in a lot of these videos. We'll have like an epiphany or a watershed moment in the middle of their video while they're trying to like explain away something. Meanwhile, they'll end up having a watershed moment, and it's like one of those things. Like, oh shit, I can't have that moment. I got to go back to being a woman. I can't take responsibility for this. So they go back to panic mode and retreat mode, basically, and they go back to the main topic that they're usually talking about. It's not the fact that they don't have this thing; it's the fact that we relieved them of it, and we told them that they don't have to take responsibility for it. And this is typically how a lot of the women are living these days. They're living in a world where all the men resolve them of any of their problems or any of their
Yep.
wrongdoings
yeah, like
before it.
enabling.
So they
And this is
typically they're basically acting this way because we let them act
right.
this way.
Yeah.
I
This is the
think there's
problem.
a few different things that can be broken down from what we just discussed. Which it's a bit hard. Like, so I kind of agree, black and red pill philosophy that not everyone has an inner critic as we've been just describing. There is probably some degree of it, but the question is how much of an influence has it become? Has it become a tyrant of that person? And if it has become a tyrant of that person, then they've got a big problem, because then that tyrant will be so critical of the true self, that it will divorce itself from the soul. So again, we're talking about narcissistic kind of
Right.
traits here.
And that's
But
fine. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, we all have, well, I believe anyway, we all have this, like Tico was saying, this monologue that's going on. As we're all discussing right now, I'm sure we're all thinking as each other are speaking. We're processing what they're saying, and
I am.
well,
I go
you know,
per.
hopefully anyway. But like, we'll be a fraction of a frame behind in thought, so that we can keep following the conversation. Otherwise, if we're not thinking and having a kind of monologue, we wouldn't really be able to communicate. We wouldn't be able to stay on subject. We lose our, well, I already have lost my chain of thoughts a couple of times, but you start drifting.
Sorry.
Now, with what Tico was saying about how women have this kind of epiphany, I think what we're talking about there is we kind of have like a conscious thought, and whether that is a lower level conscious thought or a higher level conscious thought. And when you start going into the higher level conscious thought, it becomes an unfamiliar territory and can be a bit shocking to the system. So,
And my question to that was, I was going to play devil's advocate to that. How do we know that that watershed moment that women have, that you see it usually in videos, that they're talking about something and they have this epiphany when they wake up? How do you know that's not a higher thought for women?
yeah, that is what I'm saying. Like, it's a higher
Whereas
thought.
that's normal thought for men. That's normal thought for men. But how do we know that's not a higher thought for women or psychopaths?
Yeah, but when they have that higher thought and it's that truth, then it becomes an injury. So the truth hurts. So they realize, shit, I'm acting like an arsehole here or a bitch. So that hurts them. So they backpedal, they retreat from that, go back into other behavioral patterns, which to us is, which is, sorry, one moment, just running a job at the same time. So to us, we would be happy that they have an epiphany because it's like, oh, great, you're now listening. But to them,
right? Right?
but to them, that's pain. That's like, oh no, I don't like the monster I've become. So I'm gonna use denial, push that aside, and they revert back to being the monster that they so much despise. But it's that kind of backwards logic of they become their own worst enemy, thinking that it's going to save them, when really it's just making it worse for them.
Definitely.
They need to face their fear, really. If they want a way out of their problems, and this kind of goes with anyone, you want to face your fear, and with bravery and challenge it and parent yourself through it.
A lot of it's also about. Sorry. No, I'm just going to just a quick on. I mean, a lot of it, not a lot of it. Sorry, a little thing you missed out on there is intent as well. What is the intent of the person? Is the intent of them to help other people and live in a prosperity world, or is it all about them?
True, right. Very true. Go ahead, Black Bill.
Well, the other problem that I see in this is that women operate from the perspective of the hive mind, and so when you have this, essentially half of the population, with the same hive mind mentality, and there's this, what would incentivize a woman to steer away, to go away from the herd or go away from the pack? I mean, what brings about people like, say, an Ava Brighton, if you will, to step outside of that comfort? Well, I don't know if it's dopamine, strictly a chemical thing, but I mean, because you're talking about dopamine. You're talking about literally, you're talking literally shaking the foundations of this fourth wave feminist ideology which exists today. I mean, you're literally stepping away from nearly 4 billion other human beings on this planet who have
but the irony to that though. Okay. Yeah. The irony.
I mean, how do you? No, go on.
Go ahead. Sorry about that. Go ahead.
No, I was just making a point. I just wanted to bring up her example.
Well, and the irony to that though, when it comes down to it, you also got to take consideration too. Like, it's basically for a woman to be shamed into doing something. And the sad part about that, what people forget about women is women are agreeable. For all intents and purposes, women are pretty agreeable. So if, like, a good example, I always explain it like this: a game of smash or pass. Best way I can describe this to you, Black Bill. Game of smash or pass. Everybody's talking about Hulk smash. I'll smash that. I'll smash that. Everybody's talking about I'll smash that. Let me walk into the game and go, I'll pass. All those smashes that everybody said goes away immediately. She now focuses on me because I said pass. Now she's upset with me. So typically how that works is the fact that she was getting all this dopamine rush from all these guys, and the fact that I just knocked her off her perch and her pedestal by saying pass, now she's upset with me. Now she's got to figure out what the fuck is going on in my mind for me to say pass, because all these other guys said smash. You see what I'm saying? So typically this is how usually a lot of this stuff works with women. Like, I can do that. You can do that. You can do that with anything for all intents and purposes when it comes to women. Like, if you go in a workplace, if all the men are paying this one woman attention and you ignore her, her attention is going to go from all those guys paying her attention to you not paying her attention. Because women want to be loved. Women want to be liked. Women want to be in a group, basically. But the sad part about that is, if there's that one person outside the group that's not paying no attention, now you just piqued their interest. This is typically where a lot of women can actually. It's typically where you can. A lot of women say, "Well, I know this is wrong, but it feels so good."
Sometimes you get this the because it only takes one person to upset or disrupt the illusion. So if you have someone who passes, to them it's an injury. It's like, why aren't you like everyone else who adores me? Um, I need to make you adore me now, so that
Yeah,
my
it'd be no
my
different if what he's basically about to say is it'd be no different if I was to walk if everybody else was giving you a high five and I walked up to you and punched you in the face. Like, what the fuck was that for, Tico? Like, that's technically what's going to be your thoughts, or everybody else around you thought,
So,
like, Tico, what the
well,
you asshole? What the hell was
my
that
thing
for?
is, but I thought that if you were saying that everybody has an inner voice, you're implying that it's disingenuous. Some of these people, then, and that really wouldn't be an inner voice. I'm saying,
Well,
are you?
no, I was
What I'm,
saying, but I was basically saying because I said I'll play devil's advocate on that. I go, how do we know that the inner voice for women isn't a higher thought? So how we know when women are actually going through the motions, trying to say stuff, where they have that watershed moment in videos, and they've had that watershed moment. We've watched a lot of videos of a lot of women that'll be sitting there talking about MGTOW, but they don't have this watershed moment. Well, like, well, I did mess up right there, and I did do this wrong, and I do this, and then they realize that they did it, and they'll snap out of it. Basically, it's almost like they went into like
well,
a trance of some sort, basically. So it's one of those things where I think that type of thinking is higher thinking for women, whereas it's like normal everyday thing for most men. I'll say most men because there's some men that were raised by single mothers that typically have the same mindset as women, whereas that would be higher thinking for them as well. So what
well, that's
happens
what
with
you
that?
have today. I
Yeah,
mean, that's not. I mean, that's what you have today. That's why. Again, you talk about these higher levels of the red pill. Then you start getting into the reasons why governments around the world, um, essentially are very much pro single parent, specifically single mother being the head of the household. I think it's a greater agenda for the emasculation of men, and it's worked so far. I mean, we see, here it is in 2020, and just some of the backlash that many of us, red pill and black pill,
But
MGTOW, SYSBM, IBMORs receive from these blue pill men who, like you said, apparently don't have even the capacity, which typically a man typically does, is to think. They don't have it. Again, they rely on emotions too. And what do? They guilt shame. They gaslight. They do all the same things that women do.
yeah, they
yeah,
do.
And it's incredible, to watch these men, biologically men, the Y chromosome, to act out in this way without saying, hey, why do you guys think the way you do? No, they don't ever ask it. That's logic and that's reason. That's something that
yeah,
should
Well,
be
the sad part
within
about
a
that,
man.
the sad part of, well, we also have to go back to this. You also got to go back to what I said about the whole entire thing with society. We typically don't hold women at fault. We typically don't really hold the fire, hold the coals, put the coals to their feet, basically, or whatever that metaphor is in English, because I suck
Eh,
at English sometimes. We
Right,
typically don't hold the coals to their feet, basically, or the torches to their, whatever the heck that term, you know what I
right,
mean. But we
right.
typically don't do that, so that's the problem. So therefore, we'll never ask a woman why she did that. This is typically why women can get away with the behavior that they do, is because we relieve them of that responsibility of their behavior. So the women do have the capacity to do this. It's more or less the fact that we pretty much dumbed them. I'm not going to use dumb them now. We pretty much soften that so they didn't have to really use that. It's kind of like what we say about the whole entire thing where if a woman's not attractive, she's not to use her mind. If a woman is attractive, she's not going to use her mind. You see what I'm saying? So typically, if a woman is attractive, she's going to grow up not using her mind, so she's going to use her beauty her whole entire life. It's pretty much what she's going to do. Whereas
y-
a woman is ugly, she's going to use her mind more than she's going to use her beauty because she doesn't have that beauty to obtain what she needs. It's typically how that works. So it's one of those things where it's like we basically turn women into a bunch of beautiful people. They don't
well,
have to use their mind. They just walk through the
Beautiful
world.
monsters.
that
Yeah,
yeah,
enabling
basically, yeah.
that
To quote
enabling,
Neo.
there's a pinch of one of the reasons why men allow women to just carry on the way they do is because for the man there's a little pinch of insecurity.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like this. There's a lot of backwards thinking sometimes that can provide insight into why things happen. A slight maybe deviation from what we're discussing, but like when women go on a power trip, we think that right, she's been a tyrant, she's been um, vindictive, She wants to cause pain and all this sort of stuff. But a lot of that is actually a defense mechanism for her behavior. It's to compensate. So because she feels threatened, she feels inferior, so she has to ramp it up and become this almighty powerful godlike figure.
That's typically why you get that's typically why you get the women that'll sit there like that get vitriol from a man being lower than them after they leave them after a relationship. But they get upset. They get upset when the man starts doing good in the future. Basically, it's like then he starts trying to monkey branch back into his life or trying to figure out what's going on. And I also talked about this too. You'll get some of those women who will, the minute a man starts, as soon as they get a whiff of a man doing good with himself, they'll literally call him, text him, send him a private message, or fuck with him on Facebook Messenger, whatever the heck you want to call it. And they'll typically try to like poke at his ego and try to bring him back down again for all intents and purposes. Because the sad part about that is women don't want men to be better than them. They want to be better than men since we've actually put them on this pedestal this long. They don't want to come off that pedestal. And this is typically how this works.
I think the biggest reason this has happened is because there's an elitist cult out there in the world that's done this to the human race, all in different cultures, in different ways. China more so. You just look at how China's souls have been ripped out of them. I mean, you've seen some videos where like a kid could get run over, and then there's 6 hours of footage of people running over the kid and not helping them, just ignoring it like the kid's not there. Yeah. It's just basically a pancake on the floor. That's a fucking human being. So so I think what we need, I personally think, what we've got to start hinting on now is that we've been cut off from nature. We've been put in these concrete cities. Our lives have been made so hard. You know, you've got this like. I think the key point in that the devaluation of men is when we start to get in paid for the amount of time we do a job for, rather than the amount of goods we produce.
True.
I think that.
But then on top of that, they also elaborate on your thing where you said you can sit here and literally have footage of kids being ran over repeatedly over and over again and nobody helps. We also have that culture where we can watch somebody get beat up and everybody got their phone out instead of actually trying to call somebody. They're all trying to record and put it on World Star or put it on Instagram Live or Facebook Live and stuff like that. So it's like
so the humanity's been ripped out of us, and you got to ask who's done that, because the women haven't done that. So who's done that? It's been done to women, and then the women have done it to us.
Yeah.
But who's done that? And so then
the sad part about that,
deep in the jar of red pills.
Because the sad part about that, it's a constant cycle when it comes to that. What you just said about the women did it to us, we did it to the women by putting them on this pedestal, and we're leaving them all their responsibility. We're leaving them all their grief, all their strife, and anything that could possibly go wrong with them. Because remember back in the day when way back when in American history, or even parts of European history, if a woman went to the store and she actually accidentally broke something, she wasn't responsible for it. Her husband was responsible for it. You see what I'm saying? Or if she wasn't married, her father was responsible for it. So nobody even punished the woman. It went straight to the father or the husband or who was responsible for the woman, and he would have to pay for the damages. It's typically how it worked. And that's one of the things that people forget, that that's how society pretty much taught women, that they're not responsible for anything. And whose mic is that? Whose mic is that? But anyway, we basically got to the point where like we've gotten to the point where like we let women go and run and basically do all this stuff, and they don't have to take responsibility for any of their actions or anything that they've done or will do for all intents and purposes. So now you got this feminist movement. They want all the rewards of being equal, but they don't want any of the responsibility of being an actual human being. It's kind of like the running joke in a whose mic is that?
Hold on, let me see if it's.
Who got some background? Oh,
I'll mute myself for a moment because I've got fans running.
Oh, you got fans? Oh, that was you? Oh, okay. And the sad part about that is when it comes down to it, you run into things like that where like you got a bunch of women that'll sit there and, like I said, with the feminist movement, they want all the perks of being equal, but they want none of the responsibilities of actually being a human being. It's kind of like the running joke when we talk about the what's it called? Where it says, you're 1/5 of a person or something like that. And that's technically what women want to be. They want to be 1/5 of a person, but they want to be equal 1/5 of a person. You see what I'm saying?
I think that's because they've been taken out of nature. And I mean, me and Billy have spoken to about this on Discord between each other. He sort of said that the way women are reacting is because of the reaction how men have treated them. But the men have been programmed to want materialism, the biggest car, and back in the day when this was starting to happen, I'm talking about lords on the land, and because what people don't realise is that when the women's suffrage happened, when women got the vote, it was also they got the vote from men who didn't own anything, because the people who could vote was only lords and people who own businesses. That's what people don't realise. And so when they started allowing the vote to these men, that means you've got all these feminine and downtrodden men making votes and selecting these people in. At the same time, all these people have been taken out of nature. You know, we don't live off the land anymore. We don't help each other. We're not like, you know, say you've got like an outskirt of the States in America where it's sort of disconnected with the government, and they've got their own sheriff, and they supply their own food, and they've got their own little industry going. You know, we've been taken out of that scenario. So the world's been so privileged, and it's been, I think this is sort of a result of technology, because we've got better at having such of a luxurious life that we forgot what it's like to fucking grind to survive. You know, like how many men do you know that if the electricity was shut down tomorrow, how many men do you know will be able to live off the land and survive with the knowledge in their head? Not many. So I think the reason this is because they've taken the society and the world out of nature. I think that's been the biggest. Yeah, nature's the key. We're not connected to the grass. We're not connected to the dirt. We're not connected to the breeze. We're not connected to the sun. It's just grind.
I think, Amanely, something that could add to your argument there is that we've become complacent.
Yes.
And by being complacent, we've become comfortable.
Thank you, Billy. Yeah, perfect.
So we need to. It's like facing your fears, facing your pain. We need to do what's hard and not do what's easy. And now now society is beginning to sort of see the repercussions of all of this. It's all like a convergence of being idle and, you know, having it too good. Has that noise gone, by the way? Was it
a little bit, yeah.
Okay, so it was mine then. All right.
So it's like basically the government has done this, because instead of relying on your next door neighbour, you just run to the government, and you just run to the local authority that will do everything through legal reasons, instead of sitting down mano to mano and saying, okay, we need to work this out. You did this to me, and how we're gonna solve this, because this just doesn't affect me and you, mate. This affects everybody around us. No one cares like that. No one thinks. I'm not saying no one thinks. That's bullshit. Not enough people think like that.
Oh crap! I forgot Shinobi won. I'll be right back. I forgot to bring him in.
Oh yeah, bro. He was supposed to be from the start.
He's supposed to be here too. Yeah, I forgot about Shinobi one. I'm about to go get him now. I'm about to send him a link. Go ahead, y'all. Continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think this is where it's starting to get black pill and nihilist, because like the controllers of the world have demoralised and made our lives so hard. They've made us dependent on some fictional money that doesn't exist. You know, you could just go to a bank and say, prove your fictional worth, and they'll give you, okay, we'll give you 20 grand. And you've got nothing physical. They've just put these numbers on the screen for you. And then you've got a little bit more power, which is fictional power. It's not given to you from the Most High or the earth or, you know, the nature. Some other man's gave it to us, a higher power man than you. So we've, over time, over generations, our grandfathers and whatever, they've slowly gave consent to lords and owners of money, i.e. Rothschilds, cough, cough, Rothschilds. They've consented more power to them to govern how we live, instead of governing, you know, giving each other reasonable responsibility, and that's what's made us weaker because we don't know how to survive anymore without money. One eye.
Well, the monetary system that we have today, is basically the idea that was put forth in the last century, pre-World War II and on, John
Yeah.
Maynard Keynes. It's a Keynesian model. And this idea that, we can just have excessive, money printing, going into debt, and having this idea that there's no consequences for it
Yeah.
is absurdity. And this is what has been going on for pretty much the past 80 years. And now we're seeing what happens when you get drunk off of all this quote unquote free money, which really isn't free. Nothing is free. And the model that we go by, this Keynesian model. And I remember I actually mentioned this on Hammerhand's last video. Keynesian model, it follows pretty much, the genuine. It's essentially a feminine trait. We talk about women's insatiability for materialism, for money, not believing in any consequences. The Keynesian model is a feminine model, and now we're seeing what the outcome ultimately ends up as, and it comes to burgeoning debts, people on the brink of war, taxes going through the roof. Someone has to pay the piper.
Oh, definitely.
And again, this whole model that we've been on for the past 80 years. I mean, it's the perfect parallel to what you say the female nature. Money grows on trees.
I
You
wish.
have to consume.
I'd be
Yeah, I
growing those
wish
trees every
exactly.
day. I'd be growing those trees. There'd be a bunch of those trees in my backyard.
We consume, just consume. This is how you keep this going. Burgeoning debts, go deeper in debt. Your wife wants a newer car, go deeper in debt.
She wants a bigger house, go deeper in debt. She wants the kids and all these activities that she can't afford, live paycheck to paycheck and go in debt. It's like,
so this Keynesian model fits this whole entire feminist agenda. I mean, it fits it to a T.
And if you're not a lord or an owner of land, or you're in the club, as George Carlin says, right, you're working till you die.
Basically, yeah.
So you've not got time to sit back and chill and think, hang on, is this life even right? And I think this is where sort of the midlife crisis comes in, as long as the realization that half the time, because I'm not saying all women, but most women, that they'll fucking play the men, and I realise, hang on, is this even a way to live? Look how much money I own now. Look at what have I spent it on? Basically, looking for women.
Yeah, I think they typically, for men it's called midlife crisis. For women, I think they refer to it as menopause. Usually, women tend to go through midlife crisis when matter of fact, there's two different ways that women can go through a midlife crisis: menopause, or when they have to get their uterus removed.
With men, it's more about how
how far they've gotten in life, or they where they need to be in life, and all for all intents and purposes like that.
Yeah.
And Billy the Goat, I'm jealous if this is true, Billy the Goat. Is this true? You have OnlyFans now? I'm just joking. I'm jealous. You never told me about this OnlyFans.
Yeah,
I'm jelly right now. I'm really jelly. But let's get back on top. I had to throw that up there because Americans will be able to put that up.
Top dollar.
It's $1. It's $1. It's only $1. Hey, at least he's cheap. Oh, $12.
It's something personalized dildos now.
But yeah, it's basically one of those things where it's basically when a woman gets her uterus removed from what's it called, hysterectomy, she typically goes through a midlife crisis. Then there are women that go through it when it goes through menopause. But like typically, it's one of those things where you pick and choose which one you want to lose first, basically. And women go through. I've seen women lose their uteruses at like 27. I've seen women get like a hysterectomy at like 26, 27, 25. Matter of fact, I was talking to an 18-year-old that actually literally had a hysterectomy. So it's one of those things where it's like, it depends on where it falls out in your life. And this is typically what I always say. Sometimes the wall hits women a lot faster than we think in the manosphere. because I've dealt with women who literally hit the wall at like 18.
Yeah.
Like this one chick I was talking about, she's 17. She's up for a a new liver, and she was rushing everybody in the clinic, the transplant clinic, so they could hurry up because she had a drinking date. She had a lunch drinking date at 1 o'clock. So y'all better hurry up so she can make her lunch drinking date. Now, mind you, she's getting a new liver. Like, so stuff like this, and like the sad part about that, she looked horrible. Like she looked like she was like in her 30s. She was only 17, and she looked like she was in her 30s. So, and this is typical. Go ahead.
I was going to say, well, that kind of thing just adds more to their urgency. So when opportunities arise, they become even more impulsive. Whereas with men who are spending their lives working continually, we kind of learn delayed gratification.
Mm-hmm. Like, we got no problem with saving for a 401k. Even if it's not going to be there, we might lose a shirt off our back in that 401k. It's just the thought that we have this for our future, for all intents and purposes. And it's typically like what I was saying about the thing before I made that joke that, before I entered that joke that America's DeVille put up when I was talking about men. Men typically work, and when they get to their midlife crisis, basically their midlife crisis is, are they as far in life as they need to be or they want it to be? Do they have everything in life that they wanted to have, that they wanted to? And it's stuff like this that men literally ask themselves. And the sad part about that, a lot of men actually come out the other side of the midlife crisis because they believe that they have everything and are fully fulfilled. Whereas some will come out the other side with a cherry red Corvette or some crazy ass motorcycle that they can't ride, even save their lives. And so they're basically trying to relive their glory days. And it's typically like some men fall to this stuff, and some men make it out the other side without having to take any crazy risks like buying some ungodly, ridiculous car. And it's typically what it is. Like, it's all about where a man is in his life. Is he okay? Is he okay or secure within himself to say, I'm good. I don't need to buy this cherry red Corvette or that fire red, yeah. Go ahead.
Or is he well enough prepared for it?
Yeah.
Spiritually evolved. A lot of this is spirituality, which we haven't really elaborated on a lot in this stream at the moment. I'm not. That's not a pun or anything. I'm just saying.
I feel some shade coming from Amanely. I'm sorry.
I
hold off till we actually got to that topic because, like, I got a lot to say on that topic because I come from very Vedic traditions where it actually runs my life and how I do things in my life, from the placement of my bed in my room to how I pray to what I eat to how I exercise and everything. So, like,
this is more shade on women because back in the day, women used to be the guide for men. So men was working hard and getting the society together and doing all the decisions. And women used to be the guides. They used to be able to predict scenarios. They used to be empathetic. Used to be in tune with nature, kids, children, the society. They offered that kind of attention that men didn't have because we're here for two separate roles, and that's a fact. We can't have children. So it doesn't make sense for us to have the same tools as women. Doesn't make sense at all. So no, that's where, like, kings, they used to have that kind of prophet that used to for the virgin prophet that used to tell the future and know if they're going to have a good a crop harvest next year, or can they go to war or some shit. Women used to have this spiritual kind of gift, which they've completely lost. And I think a lot of it is because life has been made too hard. Again, it's going back to consent. When consenting our freedoms and our life to these people to run for us instead of running it ourselves. So it's sort of coming full circle. But because by doing that, you're actually losing your spirituality, because it's supposed to be between you, the earth, and the Most High, no matter who you are in the world. True story.
Because the irony to that is everybody on this panel right now is either atheist, Gnostic. I kind of sort of fall into the Hindu tradition basically when it comes down to it. Then you've got as far as like exercising and stuff like that. That's pretty much my discipline. Whereas religiously, I'm typically Catholic, but I tend to lean more towards the Hinduism, which is my great grandmother, which is actually pretty strict when it comes to. Yeah, it's basically as a guide to your life, basically. There's books on how to live your life via Hinduism, basically, and stuff like that. And like you got like I think I would think Amanely Lowe said he was like Christian or Catholic,
No,
and then the
no,
other
I'm agnostic.
agnostic. Okay, so we got an agnostic, we got a Catholic, we got an atheist, we have a Gnostic, and we have what I think I want to say. What were you a goat again?
I'm a goat.
Because
I chew grass.
I think you're simple. Because I think what I want to say, Hidden's actually atheist. Yeah, Hidden's atheist. I think last time I talked to him, if I can remember correctly. So it's one of those things where it's like don't get us wrong, we all know about the Christian faith. We probably were all raised in the Christian. Well, I was too, but like it's one of those things where like you basically take a step back. And it's one of those things where it's like maybe this isn't for me. Maybe I want to go on by myself, or maybe because typically to us, a lot of like me, my problems with the whole entire thing is when it came down to the when there was like when it came to the Bible when it says well you can't get anything without God or Jesus through God or Jesus basically, but then in the next chapter it'll say well you can't get it if you're not willing to help yourself. It's like wait a minute, I thought I had to go through God and Jesus to get this. Why I got to help myself now?
God only rewards the brave and strong.
It's like how does that work?
God or higher power. Not the Most High only rewards the brave and strong, and they fight for that. They fight for their own life. Now, unfortunately, we live in a world where we're born where our ancestors have already gave away our freedoms. So we're born with this kind of. Again, this is where the red pill starts getting really fucking heavy because when you start realizing that we was born slaves, that's a heavy burden to try. That's a heavy truth to try and accept.
True story.
Hey guys, as you very well may know, like I said, I really don't have my internet up right now, so I'm on my phone. I'm actually using public Wi-Fi right now until I get my internet set up. So I got to start heading out.
All right.
But
You want to do your outro?
No, I would just say, hey, guys, listen, just keep on, just doing whatever we're always doing. I mean, you're always learning, always opening doors, always going down other rabbit holes. I mean, there's really nothing else to say. Always constantly expanding your consciousness and expanding your knowledge and wisdom of things, and just having the opportunity to come on these streams and be able to express your ideas and your thoughts and your beliefs, and it's essentially what we all need. I mean, it's the only thing we really have to protect us from this, this gynocentric system that we all exist in, unfortunately. So I just keep on doing what you're doing. Keep on moving ahead and, never look back.
True.
That's pretty much it, guys.
I hear that.
All right, guys. Peace out.
See
What's
ya.
up?
Thanks.
We'll catch you next time, I was saying. We'll catch you next time.
Later, guys.
Yeah. Thanks for having you on, mate.
Philosophy. See you next
And
time.
Okie, check your Discord. Because I sent you a link as well on Discord. I know you have a lot of smart stuff to say. But yeah, it's typically what it is. It's like when you start running off, even when it comes to religion, or because there's a difference between being religious and being spiritual. You could be spiritual without being religious, and you could be religious without being spiritual. And that's something that's always blown my mind when it comes down to it in the Western world. Like, wait, so you could do what and not do what? Like, how does that work? This is one of those things where it's like you disconnect yourself from your religion, or you disconnect yourself from, stuff like that. And it's like one of those things where I've always practiced both religions no matter what. So it's one of those things where it's like they were always with me. I know all about them, and I basically study them. Let it be the yoga, let it be the meditation, let it be how I carry myself throughout the world for all intents and purposes. Because I typically, despite the fact that I am a dick and I am an asshole most times, I do have limitations to my assholeness. Believe it or not. I mean, it may not seem like it, and I know that sounds like far-fetched. Like, Tico, come on now. I just watched you cuss out a lady on Facebook and tell her she's fat. Like, I can't believe. But there are limitations to what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing to do before it actually gets into me disrespecting family and disrespecting a family name for all intents and purposes. So there's typically a limitation to what I'm willing to do and what I'm willing not to do when it comes to stuff like that. So it's one of those things where it's like, what is your limitations? Do you know yourself as a human being? And do you know your family? And are you willing to actually sacrifice your family's name just to disrespect them, just so you can get clicks and likes on Facebook or stuff like that?
You're also hinting there on vibrations, because if you're really woke, I won't say woke, but if you're really looking into the existence of life, we all know that nothing's hardly solid. I mean, you look at the makeup of an atom, it's like 98% air. So we're talking about vibrations and energies here, and in intent, like intent sets vibration. So these people you're talking about is that are good and that you relate to are high vibrations. And low blue pill people, men and women, they're on a very low vibration. And this is where the theory of heaven and hell comes. You've got heaven, the high positive vibrations, and you go lower into the lower vibrations of hell.
True.
And so with those vibrations, you have certain acts. And again, self-reflection, meditation, and changing your intent can all change your vibrational state. It's a really difficult thing, because certain people again, if you want to go deeper and deeper, there's certain people. What do you think about it? Because obviously you've got the Buddhism religion, you've got the Jainist religion, and all these religions think that you're keep born again and you're reincarnated into this physical suit or a different existence because you haven't reached a high enough vibration yet. And obviously the Hinduism believes this as well, that you keep reincarnating until you reach a certain vibration and of like no harm and no anything to any existence, and then you leave this meat suit into a different spiritual realm, which you could say which they call heaven, or Christians call heaven.
Yeah. But I think in the Buddhist religion, I think they refer to as nirvana.
Yeah, I think
or
so.
Or is it Confucianism? Oh well, I think it might be Buddhism. They refer to it as nirvana. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you could meet people who are at different stages of their soul evolution, you could call it.
True.
And so by people, as some people, like I'm lucky enough to have. I'm not fantastic at this, but I'm reasonably good. I'm lucky enough to sense people's vibrations, and some people are not. And I think that's where the black pill was on about before. I mean, it could be on about completely spiritually dead people who can't, who can't who can't harvest the soul. They're the soulless portals. So that voice in their head talks, and it's talking to nothing. They become that voice, and they're like it's like a remote. Their bodies and their consciousness is a remote control to that base primitive voice.
Well, that'd be like the false self who has, well, or the true self is speaking up. The inner wounded child is speaking up, like, "Hello, I'm still here,"
Yep.
and then the tyrant false self goes, "Shut the fuck up," and pummels it back into like, I'm in control here, not you.
Billy, you remember that conversation, that little session we had when we was looking at how those kids was like being reborn, and they was picking out the murderers of the people in their past lives.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
Got prosecution, so so that was an intense stream. We was talking about what's the meaning of life. The deepest of red pills, right at the bottom of the jar.
Yeah.
That makes me want to go watch Monty Python now.
I love Monty Python, man. John Cleese is a very, very clever man. I love that guy, John Cleese.
Yeah, definitely.
Fawlty Towers, man. I might have to watch that one of the days.
Right? I'm gonna watch that after the stream. Stop. I'm gonna watch all the movies.
The Life of Brian, eh?
Right? The Life of Brian. All of them.
Yeah, what's happening, guys?
What's up?
How you doing, man?
Yeah, so
How are you?
we were talking about, huh?
I said, how are you?
I'm good, man. Just spent 4 hours at the gym this morning.
It's Okie.
Did a little.
Yes,
grocery
Okie, yeah.
shopping. I got some meat that I'm gonna barbecue after I finish up here in like 20 minutes. I'm just trying to use up these 2 batteries. I'm not gonna have enough time to recharge them to go outside because it'll be dark. But I'm trying to get a little bit done because it's become a jungle back here. But yeah. So talking about today, what's going on is everyone's so freaked out, man. Even just driving around, and like where I live, people used to be pretty, nice to others on the road, very courteous. And now it's like everyone's honking like crazy. Like when I drive, from my office to the gym, you know, now it's back to traffic because everyone's back at work. But like people honk a lot more than they used to. Like I'll just be driving around and someone will honk and I'm like, what's going on? Like no one's even doing anything, like no one's even being an asshole. But people are fucking honking like crazy. You know,
Yeah.
I just think everyone is so agitated, so freaked out, kept in this low vibrational state, which is what the elite want,
Yeah.
because that low vibrational state of fear also keeps you open to getting sick too, because your body is always in this constant state of, elevated fucking elevated cortisol production, adrenaline pumping through your veins like fucking mad, dude, because you're always in this, fight or flight mode, just trying to go about your day because of how crazy everything is now. And I was doing a drum circle with some friends on Friday night, and we did a cacao ceremony, which is really cool, which basically helps like open up your heart and chill you out and get some things off your chest, and to have people around you to get things off your chest too, because the people that I hang out with are all, new agey hippies, because I don't go out and drink or anything anymore. So I just
We at
go
the
and do
Tico
drum
Tren
circles
channel
with
have no
people.
problem with hippies. We love hippies, and we love to hang with hippies. We don't smoke with hippies, but we love hanging with hippies. I'm just joking with you. Go ahead.
Yeah,
I'm
for
just joking
sure.
with you. I'm just messing.
And so definitely now, like I think the main thing people need to focus on is learning how to chill out again and not be so worried about all this shit, and doing your job to show people a little bit more grace, which doesn't mean to simp out. It just means to just be a little bit more courteous, because even a smile can change someone's day. Because when you're positive, that dispels someone's negative attitude.
Oh, definitely does. I've changed many workplaces just by smiling and laughing and having fun.
Mhm.
Just walking in and just having high energy and stuff like that.
Yeah, and so that's what we need. Right, fucking big ass bug. So yeah, so that's what I think we need right now, because everyone's in this super low vibrational state, like the other guy was saying, and
Yeah,
Well,
we're definitely in a spiritual war. With everything going
Definitely.
on. I think you have
definitely.
this satanic force on the left, supporting the left hand, whatever Moloch or whatever bullshit, whatever
Marlock, yeah.
Jewish,
the thing
whatever
is, like,
Jewish underworld gods, whatever.
It's another
without
reason.
guidance,
Go on.
um, without guidance, a lot of people don't know how to cope and to think positively. So the only option they have at that point is to only carry on being negative.
Yeah.
And I had this idea earlier. You kind of reminded me. We were talking about drivers honking their horns. I was thinking, what's the deal with road rage, where you have this brief encounter with a complete stranger on the road, and you decide to be a cunt to them, just so that you have a little bit of satisfaction, you know. But it's counterintuitive because you're thinking you're feeling relieved by, I don't know, like cutting them up or boxing them in their car, teaching them what for. Um, but really, you're ultimately hurting yourself in the process, you know.
Very
So you
true.
so you're originally, I mean, sort of to backpedal it a little bit. You're wanting to get revenge because already you're injured and you're in pain for some other reason, and you're taking this vindictiveness out on a complete stranger just for a brief moment in time, to have that dopamine satisfaction. But what happens is that just gets added onto the hurt that you've already got. So now you hate yourself for being a jerk to some complete stranger. So
True.
people are failing to self-medicate in the right ways, and this kind of goes into CBT therapy. I don't know, Tico, do you know about that?
Yeah,
Cognitive behavioral therapy.
yeah.
You know, like relearning how to
Of course, ask a
assess.
psychologist.
Yeah. I
You're fine. Well, that's a psychologist. Yes.
didn't know. I
Do
didn't know
you
if you
know what that
were.
is? I'm just messing
Yeah.
with you. You're fine.
Cool, cool. But yeah, I mean, shots fired.
No, right? Shots fired. My ego feels bruised now. I might want to have some road rage in Billy the Goat's neck of the woods.
You'd be
M5,
by,
no M4, right?
fucking Billy. Ah.
M3 or is it M4? No, I'm just joking. Go ahead, Billy.
Yeah. I mean, well, so to get out of that, like Oki saying, that survival mode of fight or flight, So yeah, I mean, a lot of people they're on the edge. I mean, society, people are all tensed up. They're on the edge. Their adrenaline is pumping. They're ready to be triggered at an instant, ready to explode, ready to take someone else's life if need be on a whim. Could be over the smallest of things. So it's pretty depressing thinking about it like that. But I mean, problematic, I suppose, as the
Yeah, we're definitely living in pretty crazy times. I mean, who knows what's going to happen in the future? I don't know if there's, I don't think there's going to be a financial collapse like everyone thinks. But, like, for example, 4 years ago, I thought the economy was going to tank when Trump took office because some shit was going to happen. And so I changed a bunch of shit in my stock portfolio. And, because I didn't have the faith that it'd be okay. And then the economy grew like crazy. And then, so I didn't make a lot of gains that I could have if I had kept the faith. But I don't know, like, I think now it's just time to just figure out how to chill out again and just kind of give people some grace and not, like, and just, there's enough Karens out there that are fucking everything up.
True, very true.
You got to be careful of that as well, because you still have to defend yourself, because there's these predators out there, whether you're high vibration or not. They'll actually target high vibrational people. Why are you not? Why are you not down here with us? You can't be that happy.
Yeah, but
you're not allowed to be that happy.
If you exercise your boundaries,
simp out and be able to, like, you still have to have boundaries like crazy. Like, I'm not saying to simp out and allow yourself to get fucked over.
You can show compassion to someone by a slap in the face. It still doesn't mean you necessarily hate them. Here's a compassionate slap. It's sensitive to you. Like,
I don't hate you. I'm just disappointed in you right now. Like,
yeah, but what you're doing, you're taking them out of their own little world, aren't you? Into the visceral real world, because you're giving them some real visceral pain. So you're taking them outside the head into another mode of thought.
Yeah, that's kind of like me at work when my coworker says something stupid, especially one of the female ones, and I go, "Here, take my hand. You want me to hold it? No. Yeah, grab my wrist, slap yourself across the face with my hand, very, very hard and very, very quickly. Why do you want me to do that? Because you're being stupid right now. Just slap yourself with my hand. That way you can't blame me. You're the one that did it." and I remember the one girl, her name was Lauren, and she actually literally did it. She literally slapped herself across the face. She goes, "Yeah, I'm sorry, dumb question." But I was like the only woman that's ever admitted. But I think that's because Lauren actually had a crush on me at work. But that's the only woman that's ever admitted to actually, saying something stupid to me after asking a crazy question, basically. And it's like, there's one of the few women at work that's ever came to me and go, "That was stupid. Give me your hand, Tico." And so let me take my hand and slap herself across the cheek. I was like, I think she was enjoying that, though. Unfortunately.
Hidden into the show.
We never dated, but it was one of those things where it's like she's a cute, very cute girl, but it never really panned out anything because I don't know, it was kind of weird dating somebody like that, and I kind of sort of seen her more as a sister than I did as somebody I want to date. But yeah, moving right along. Oki fell out. What the heck?
Didn't he say he had like battery problems or something like that?
Oh no, he's saying something about batteries for cutting down some shit or handling his backyard basically, because apparently it's starting to look like a jungle or something like that. So he got his battery packs for like his weed whacker and stuff. But yeah, Hid, do you got anything to add to this lovely conversation? He's been sitting over there in the corner looking like a kid from that scary movie.
All I gotta say is I'm gonna leave this right here.
You're simple as hell. This guy. No, but yeah, it's yeah. So like I don't know. It's
Did he
one of those
just
things where
did
go
he
ahead.
just slap his cock on the table?
You right? He wish he was that big.
I dropped it from 3 feet.
Right? Oh shoot.
Yeah. So what kind of how deep do you want to go into this red pill philosophy, or how expansive does it go? Can it go? Because it can go so far. You know, because as I say, it's not just about feminism. I mean, red pill could be simple as how Hollywood works and what's
Hmm.
going on with celebrity lifestyles. You know, there's a lot of red pill in there. You know, I don't want to go into this because this was designed as a divide and conquer method. It's like the round and flat Earth. That's a red pill moment because no matter what you believe, there's a lot of red pill truth in there. And basically, in a nutshell, we're fucking lied to. No matter what part of what side of the fence you lie on, we're fucking lied to. So you know, for example, what are they not telling us about Antarctica?
Oh, do I need to get my tinfoil hat on?
Right? Wait, where's mine at? Oh, here's my aluminum foil. I'll just make it while you're talking about it. I'm gonna put it together right now.
So my MGTOW TV icon is like a tinfoil hat chained in a Roman Praetorian kind of helmet, isn't it? So yeah, so it's like the red pill goes deep and deep and deep, but at the end of the day, I mean, these red pills are great to dive into, and we can talk about it, but it doesn't really matter because what the red pills that really does matter is what kind of knowledge can you apply to help everyday other people and yourself. Because how is knowing what Antarctica is going to help you grow your food, help you get off the grid?
Yeah, I mean that's a good point. I mean it's how much do you need to know before you're able to navigate through life,
Yeah,
and that's all you really need to be
yeah,
satisfied with, just being able to navigate through life. Yeah.
yep. But those red pills do exist, and it's sort of. I think you should only dive into that kind of stuff if, say, you've got a spare time in your weekend, and you know where you read a book, or you go into that kind of stuff, you research it, you know that kind of. Or some people play games, like I'm doing right now. You know, I should be researching a little bit more, but I'm getting a bit of escapism from my real life health problems right now. So that's helping me a lot. So you know, you got this spare time where you can look into this, but you got to outweigh the you can't fulfill your entire spare time this escapism or these useless I like to call useless red pills. If it's knowledge is it's as I say, it basically comes full circle where you know you're being lied to by the owners of the planet. So again, full circle. It's what red pills. What red pills do you want to learn? Like, do you want to make your own electricity? Do you want to make your own solar panels? Like what Billy's been looking into. Me and Billy have had a look.
Well,
UK
I'm not
land
making solar
prices.
panels, but I'm looking to get some.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, but you've looked at solar generators, and we've looked into it, haven't we?
Yeah.
So, we've looked at the prices of land, the locations of land, so that's kind of red pill knowledge people should look into. It goes back into like the people that could vote before women's suffrage was landowners. So we need to get back, we need to wind back the
Yeah.
clock into where we come from rather than heading towards this kind of satanic society run by computers. And up today, I'm trying to top up my grandmother's phone. And Vodafone have put this automated bot on where you've got to speak everything. Do you want to top up your phone? Please say
hate
yes
those.
or no. Before it was just a button, one or two, and then enter the data. And so everything's getting automated. People are going to be losing their work. And you've seen what they're doing in Disney. The man, robots are actually having facial expressions now. So how far is it until they'll be able to do the work for us? I mean, it might not be around the corner, but it's definitely fucking coming. And that means that's less work. Less jobs for humans. What we're going to do? We're going to be suckling off the tit of the government. And look how fucking well they're run. They can't even fucking. But our Prime Minister can't even comb his fucking hair. We've got to fucking listen to that prick. Unbelievable. So yes, we've got to wind back. We've got to get back to the earth and get back to growing our own stuff, producing our, becoming a society. What a point is that going to become a reality? Because I think this is where the nihilist approach comes. Is will society most of society have to destroy itself before we can come together? Because as I say, there's so many low vibrational people. There's so many people running on this cortisol and adrenaline, as Billy said, and Oki said. You know, do
Boris,
we have to wait?
Boris does look like he combed his hair with the M80 firecracker. That's great.
So, like, do we have to wait for this apocalyptic scenario to start with fizzing out? Because not everybody's going to accept this new life, this Agenda 21 and Agenda 30 they're going to push onto us. Not everybody's going to accept that. So, or is it literally like us MGTOWs and Red Pills? Do we literally behind the scenes just eventually get our shit together, meet up behind the scenes, and become our own society? And this stuff doesn't happen overnight. This takes years and years and years of planning. And will we be able to do that with the current state of affairs? That's another question.
We should be able, because we have a lot of people that are very good with strategic and logistics, basically. So I think we would actually be able to make it happen very quickly for that reasoning. And we've pretty much got some people that are very good with woodwork and,
Yep.
you know, steel work and metallurgy and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where we got that covered. But we know a few people that can actually, that are really, really good at like gunsmithing and making bullets also as well.
Yep.
Just don't call it MGTOW. It's something else.
Yeah.
Or like
It's sort
men
of prepping,
recreating something or something.
Or just name the town MGTOW.
Welcome to MGTOW.
Right.
MGTOW.
MGTOW, brilliant.
Looky.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, because we again, me and Billy spoke.
Oh, okay. Oki said he's just listening. Apparently, okay. I guess he got stuff. I guess he's got to go weed whacking and stuff like that. So that might have been too loud in the background for him to actually be on the stream and not be trying to just chop down crap.
But me and Billy were speaking about this on Discord again, and it's like, what contingencies have we got for communication or plans do we meet up if shit hits the fan? So say the radio masts get burned down, you can't even use ham radio anymore.
Tin cans and a piece of string. That's all you need.
Exactly.
Right.
We was talking about having a set plan.
If you see smoke signals, it's probably me.
Smoke signals. That's it. You're going back to smoke signals.
If all you see is smoke everywhere and you can't see shit, that's probably me.
Yeah, we come with the idea of, you know, how you sort of have a bug out plan. Well, part of that bug out plan is certain.
Okay, got it. Yeah, we've seen with the advent of online communications, like this idea of the sock account. So I think future communications will have to be more personalized, because there's always the because I don't think security. I think security is just too inconvenient of a concept for a majority of people to actually fully apply. Like we talk about red pill rabbit holes, like the security rabbit hole is something people don't realize every single thing they do is being tracked and traced and listened to. And so, like in the future, I think we know a lot of MGTOWs who are good at communicating, are good at, you know, processing information and dealing with like different arguments and stuff. And so, in order to, I guess, like band or organize, we'll need definitely people who are good at publicly organizing and dealing with PR and and like propaganda, like motivating people to actually join the cause, because you can't do it alone as just one person.
Well, you can't. I mean, you can, but it will just take a little bit longer to do it for all intents and purposes.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be done by one person if they really wanted to, but it's one of those things where it's like, well, what is that person? What's that person skilled at doing? But bringing the people together, just putting it together itself, or bringing the people together that can actually make it happen for all intents and purposes. So it's like everybody has a skill.
Well, like you said,
the question
when
is,
you
what is your skill?
we had like in COVID, we had the loss of non-essential quote unquote jobs. That's like a lot of those jobs is the bringing together of people, because a lot of the people who are skillsmen and tradesmen, they don't have the best, networking, social skills and stuff like that, and like ability to present. And it's like, of course, there's certain parts of it that's unnecessary.
Well, no, that's actually false, because the sad part about that, a lot of construction workers actually have more social skills than emo black pillars or children. The sad part about that, all these people have these social skills because they have to be on a job with these people and they have to see these people on a regular basis. So you really can't be a hermit and be on a job as a construction worker or a carpenter or a pipe plumber, because you're going to have to always interact with people. You're going to have to interact with the plumber. You're going to interact with the electrician. You're going to have to interact with the person that's the carpenter for all intents and purposes.
Put that doohickey in that thingamajig and use that, what do you call it, to cut that thingamajig.
And the sad part about
exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and the sad part about that, if you're a construction worker, a carpenter, a plumber, or an electrician, you pretty much know what the hell he's talking about. That's the sad part.
I met engineers. I met more like tech, software and hardware engineers, and people who like have to sit in front of a computer and program. You can't necessarily become a socialite. Yeah.
True. I'll give you that on those group of people, but like typically, like most people are pretty good at like finding their balance or finding their center to be able to
otherwise they wouldn't need a project manager.
Yeah. True. Yeah, but
could you attest that to a lack of masculine influence in their life?
Mm-hmm.
I would probably attach that to like introverts, because there's a lot of introverts that don't have the.
Yeah, true.
And a lot of introverts that don't really have that. Like I'm a good example of that. Like typically, if I'm not online, I'm not doing anything. I'm by myself. I'm doing by myself, and like I barely talk to my damn children. Shit, unless they got some problem with their homework or something like that. Like. Mm-hmm. Like pretty much, I'm just that solid, strong person, basically.
Or like, for me to inquire, like I would like the spirituality versus religious thing. Like I didn't go to chapel, I didn't attend service, I didn't hang out with the people that I sang with. But when I went to rehearsal or performances, I feel like I was like the most centered person, or the person that had like the most conviction when it came to actually performing, and it has to do with spirituality.
Well, no, because that sounds like something I always tell my children, or something I said in during and say this the other day or a few days ago, is when I said to my children, you go to school to learn, not to play.
Mm-hmm.
So you basically went to service to you basically went to those things just to do what you needed to do and to get the hell up out of there, basically. So you didn't really mingle. You didn't stick around long enough to get in trouble with everybody, to do stupid shit with everybody, to get yourself into stupid stuff with everybody. So you basically were able to get out.
And I mean, like, there's a lot of things that come down to your ability to stand alone in your beliefs. And if you can't do that, then it doesn't matter how many red pills you take, because we've seen people who are like just barely dip their toes into this rabbit hole. Anytime they're questioned about their beliefs, they just sputter and spurg out, and then just try to belittle the other person who's trying to help them, which is just like, it's just sad. We reached a all new low.
Yep, but to be honest, Barry, you get that on all levels of existence, and even in the deep levels of red pill, because they might have like realized something, and then you've given them such a red pill that smacked them in the face. It's just a knee-jerk reaction.
Yeah, you've got that balance of cognitive and emotion. Like you can have all the cognitive skills available to you, be really academically, smart about something, but if your emotional IQ is stunted, it can go out the window completely.
Yeah.
It can tip the scales.
It's like I said, the people that really know their job well, they will get mad when another person who's a lower position is having more fun and enjoying it and dancing and singing and smiling and making everybody laugh. That bothers them to such a level that they're willing to even like sabotage or try to undermine that person.
You've said something bang on there. I'd like to elaborate because as many times I've just got a knack of things sometimes, right? And I've had this happen to me, and I've seen other people do it as well, or other kids like say you've got this veteran or this teacher teaching someone, and then you just go, well, how about if you do this, it's going to be quicker, and the same thing. And I go, no, you can't do that. So it's sort of like, no, you can't do that. That's illegal. When it's not, they just make shit up, and then they humiliate you, and you go, oh, if you really want to do that, you little fucking bum, you don't know what you're on about. You shouldn't even be here. And I've seen, and it's like, that's that again. It's what Billy just said. It's exactly what Billy said. It's their emotional, the was it?
Or infantile.
It's narcissism too, because you'll have people say something like, this woman said to me today, like little old Filipino woman, she's like, are you having fun? Like, while I'm just doing my job. And I'm like, with what? And she just repeats it, like, are you having fun? And I was just like, do you care? She was like, no. And I'm like, then why are you asking? And then she like gave me this little like squinty eyed look and then like strutted away, and I was like, okay, this is just
yeah. Somebody's been hanging with Tico Tren a little too long. Somebody's been hanging with Tico Tren a little too much there. Shit. Doesn't matter.
Otherwise,
this guy
doesn't matter. I mean, otherwise, what's the alternative? Because to me, it's like, yeah, I'm having fun doing this menial job. She's looking at me like, this nigga ain't shit. Or if you say, no, I'm not having fun doing this menial job, then she's gonna be like, oh, what a weak, cowardly man that he can't find something that he actually likes doing. It's a double bind.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, yeah, just shut it down. Like, do you even why? 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 Does it even matter?
That's when you reply back in a kind of like cryptic Yoda speak. Like,
ooh,
yeah.
Annoying you are. Bitch, you are.
I like him.
Hard, I am not. Out my face, you should get.
Wow, that's pretty funny.
I should make another channel and just call it Baron Yoda, and I just drop red pills as Yoda. That would be so funny.
That would be amazing.
I might do that on MGTOW.tv because Yoda's pretty alpha. Like he's able to preserve his body with the Force to live like millennia.
He's a real monk.
Yeah, he really is a real monk. But sorry, I kind of got on topic.
Go on dates and pay for it. You must not.
Pay, I will not. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's going back into intent because like you already knew the intent of that woman. What wasn't? It was for herself. And so, like us MGTOW, we're here because we want to bestow knowledge onto the world, even females, because females need to fucking learn. And
and not everyone's a monk. So when it comes to being the gatekeeper to commitment, you have to realize that once you cohabitate, there's not a whole there's not a lot more that you can control since you're biologically as a man. You desire certain things, so that she has the power. Had the power over it. And it makes you think about like when those goofballs say, how do you go your own way? They never even cared about you or like, you were never even recognized. That'd be like saying you got fired from a job and you say I quit. But in reality it's more complicated than that because men control that whether or not they're going to commit to a woman or not. So it's not like they never cared. They have to care because we're the only ones that can do that.
That's a great segue to talking to about being monk, because When you're with a woman, as you said, you can't be fully intent. You can't be 100% into helping men because you do have a natural law responsibility of looking after your spouse or your other partner and your children, and you know that should be the first thing you do. But I think that's why you get these Buddhist monks, because they realise at such a young age that if you commit to such things, you cannot learn and you cannot bestow knowledge to the level
What?
and the degree
Children who need
that you
them.
can.
Let me stop that. They can be sacrificed. Let me stop.
Yeah.
Let me stop. Let me quit that.
You look at Hinduism.
Huh?
You look at Hindu monks. They either become monks or they enter a relationship knowing they can be 120% faithful.
Mm-hmm. And the sad part about that is, speaking of a segue for that, speaking of India and Hindus, India actually has the lowest divorce rates in the whole entire world.
Yeah. Because they're more spiritually in tune with the higher power, with Most High. And everybody looks at that land like it's really dirty, it's really muck. It's just been mismanaged. That's all that is. Just been mismanaged.
It's been mismanaged a lot.
Yeah, but most
It's very
of them
lovely though, but it's been mismanaged. I will agree to that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. And even though they're spiritually in tune, the men have been feminized a lot. They have.
But the sad part about that, what I've noticed about the Indian faith as well, is I've noticed that a lot of the men are how can I put this nicely without making this PG rated R. The Indian men tend to be more freaks. Basically, they tend to be more freaky. 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 Like as far as like not filthy, but freaky. Like they tend to be like they're on some next level sexual shit. Basically.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say.
They're stuck in their root chakra, because when you're stuck in your bottom root chakra, you're very over sexualized, and that's
definitely.
Because in India it's all about chakras, it's all about spirituality. So that's why there's been a big attack on the spirituality of India.
Yeah.
Because instead of being enlightened with all 7 chakras, they've pushed them all down into the root chakra.
Yeah. Or what'll happen is now in India, women would actually hire people from the village to go kidnap men so they can marry them now in India.
Wow.
Yeah, that's a thing. Okay. That's really a thing in India. Women are having men kidnapped in the city so they can be forced to marry them and
get her done.
Yep. So I wouldn't be shocked if that's something that'll happen in the United. Well, then again, women have too much hypergamy in the United States, so I highly doubt that would even happen in the United States. They'll probably be kidnapping somebody else's husband, forcing them to marry him too. And if it's going to happen in the Western world or America, that will pretty much be how that will pretty much plan out. But oh my goodness gracious! But yeah,
the red pill's far and wide.
It definitely is. And we just touched on a little bit of stuff this one. We still got more stuff to touch on. We'll be doing this every Sunday. Yay! Oh my goodness. Do you want to continue on, or do we want to talk about something else? Red pill wise? Oh, did we even touch on religion? Really? Or do we didn't really? We only we just went to dip our toes in it.
Yeah, it's like religion / spirituality.
Yeah, did we dip our toes in it, or did we actually really talk about it?
I'm a bit.
Well, I think spirituality. Each terms has like has a temporal aspect. Like religion is kind of like future-proofing cattle, whereas spirituality is more about present day, everyday stillness and peace.
Mm-hmm.
And I think with those two concepts, you have enough to, I guess, create like a worldview, because you need to know where you're from and where you are now to be able to know where to go next. And
you need to still that inner chaos.
Have any of you heard of starseeds?
Starseed?
It sounds familiar.
Starseed. Yeah. Someone
Heard of it.
someone mentioned it to me recently, and I was like, "What the fuck is that?" So I looked it up, and I was just like, "Oh man, what the fuck is this?" It's people who believe that they were born
Oh, indigo children.
off world, and so they kind of believe that they originated as like an energy form, and they had a choice of whether they're going to be birthed on Earth and become an Earthling, or if they're going to be born in some other part of the universe and then somehow travel to Earth. So they feel like they're kind of alien, I suppose. I don't know, but not from this planet. So they're called star seeds, apparently. And it's like, oh fucking hell, yeah. Not to bash at it, but
No.
I was just
But
like,
that's sort of similar to what I've heard. Is that you got like these higher souls. You briefly mentioned reincarnation a while back, and that these reincarnated souls that reach such a high level. Oh, hello. Oh yeah, they see the
Just
they
wait a minute.
see
How
the
did that happen? I was going to say, wait a minute. Go ahead, Amanely.
they see
Sorry.
they see the chaos of this world, so they've entered their higher soul has reincarnated to try and sort out the chaos that's happening right now. So instead of being on a different planet, so then you know how we only see like 0.3% of all light, but they've come from like in a dimension that exists at the same in the same place at the same, but not necessarily the same time, because time only exists within this framework of life.
True.
As soon as you exit the physical reality, time no longer exists. So
Very true.
they've entered this reality to try and equalize the chaos that's happening right now, to try and ease and help people. So
I've
I
got some
think
red
what
pill
you
YouTube starseed right here.
This guy.
I got some seed to splash out everywhere.
No comment.
That's kind of like what you see with
I
like
am
the
not
political.
A manly seed right here.
A manly seed. A manly seed. Not a manly load anymore. It's a manly seed now.
I think when you're provoked by fear, you're much more likely to like play along with like the organized chaos of the political conflicts and stuff. Whereas if you see a different spectrum, you're more likely to be like, I'm leaving the planet. Like Pierre XO is somebody I found recently. He lives in Prague, and he's this Asian content creator, and he's really funny.
Pierre,
sometimes
does he wear a lot of makeup and bandanas? Yeah.
He's
Friend of Richard
bandanas.
Grannon.
He's got dreads and stuff.
Yeah.
He's very alternative. He's really tatted up, and he's kind of has that. He talks. He kind of like tends to like, go on long like monologues about like spirituality and noticing things and wordplay and word association. And he kind of, I think he understands this too, how, and a lot of people who take the red pill especially, I feel like are more afraid for the future than these people who are embroiled in this conflict, because they know that if their candidate wins, then everything's going to be all right,
Mm-hmm.
Whereas we know the difference. We know better than to be like appeased by that.
They're two different sides
go ahead.
of the same fucking coin.
Mm-hmm.
The two sides of the same coin.
Very true.
And we want, and at the root cause of freedom, we have to throw that coin out the window. But that's, going back into the prepping, and what do we do when shit hits the fan? Because no one's going to throw the coins out the window overnight. So.
Yeah, definitely. Because I always said I don't even need those coins. I typically just grab my backpack and I just keep it moving. And people just look at me like, "Well, what's in your backpack, or what do you have on you to make it so that you don't need all this stuff?" And I typically go, "Well, like I have stuff for everything in my backpack." To like on my keychain, because like if you ever see my key ring, I actually have carabiners on my key ring. So if I have to climb some shit, all I gotta do is break out a carabiner and a little belay thing, and I just pretty much climb down some shit. I got rope in my backpack. So like,
utility
literally got Batman going on in off my keychain and off my backpack, because my backpack's big enough to pretty much support weight, and the carabiner can support a lot more weight than me. So it's one of those things where it's like I just pretty much get up and go, and if I happen to run into something where I never know where I have to rappel down it, I'm ready to go basically. So it's always one of those things where it's like I don't care if I'm high up on the top of a building, I'm getting down that building whether you like it or not.
I think
But
that's
yeah.
that's something I'd like to hint on. I mean, I think a bunch of us should start building maybe a prepper series, a shit hits the fan series of what do you have in your backpack, what plans do you need, where can you meet other fellow MGTOWs if shit hits the fan.
Definitely a fallback MGTOW meeting place basically.
Yeah. And we should do it for all different countries and different states and different areas. And I think this should where people should be heading, because as we see economic crashes all around the world. Shit's a fan. We've had, once if we had a second wave of this Wuhan thing, and
Hey, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you. That'll be funny. You'd be like, y'all be standing there in Great Britain. I'll be like, is that a wildfire? No, that's Tico. That's just Tico. He's pretty much letting us know he's here.
Like, who's that zip lining across the skies? Like,
right?
Yeah, literally. Firing off flares.
Right, firing off flares. Right? Burning down half the forest in the process of doing so. It's that pyromaniac Tico.
Hey, settle up, boys. That's the way we're going.
Right? It's one of those things where it's like it's just pretty funny. Just like, yeah, we definitely got to do that, because like typically we definitely got to start doing that. Like, what do you have in your backpack? What do you have in your wallet?
What form of communications can we explore, and how can we help other MGTOWs to have like this kind of bug out thing? And because as I said, I'm reading this book right now. It's so hard to get my head around it. There's so many edible foods. I want to do this foraging series to help people survive if they can't get to the shops or they can't eat.
Is the book made of like edible material, so in desperate you can eat the book?
Right. The bad part about that, right? I was going to say that.
Read it all first and then eat it.
Right. Read it first and eat it, or just eat the binder, eat the cover, and please keep the pages.
We're not all goats, Billy. So we're not all goats, Billy.
Wow.
Well,
shade on goats.
I shit out nuggets.
This guy.
Golden nuggets of truth.
Yeah.
No, so like, if you imagine, like, because that's what happened in World War One and Two. Like, a lot of the foods that were getting off the state wasn't good enough, so they had to rely on each other on getting their own foods. And it was one of the periods where humans have been the healthiest for a long while, because they was growing their own foods in their backyards and eating fresh, and eating organic fresh eggs and doing whatever. Obviously, I wouldn't do that, but everything was fresh and organic and made in their own garden. It was really healthy, instead of going to a supermarket and getting this pre-packaged, plastic-infected, chemical-induced food.
Tell us how you really feel about the supermarket food there, Amanely.
Well, something that might be a bit scary to think was I came across this video. Amanely, I might link it to you at some point, where in China, I think it was like in the 1960s, there was such poverty that they resorted to cannibalism.
Wow.
And like some town, village, or whatever, like the numbers were like 1,200 people being eaten. They were eating their own children.
What?
And to try and get over this kind of trauma of eating your own child, families were exchanging children so that they were eating their neighbor's child instead.
I believe it.
That's some fucked up low-end
So
satanic shit.
when shit hits the fan, well, it was they were also digging up corpses and eating dead bodies, buried bodies,
Fuck yeah, now.
So when shit hits the fan and food becomes a scarcity, cannibalism will be something that you have to be, watching out for.
True.
And I like
And the sad part about that is it's not even something that you don't even have to necessarily be in a who the heck fell out now? Oh, you don't even
Okay.
necessarily have to be in who fell out? Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Like you don't even have to be in necessarily dire straits like that. Basically, if you get into a crash landing, people already talk about who we're going to eat first.
But
If a plane crash lands in the middle of nowhere, that's pretty much a topic that comes up.
this is deriving from two things: a lack of knowledge and the addiction to meat. Because
True.
there's one thing of eating a balanced diet, and there's one thing of being addicted to a part of diet. Like for example, I'm plant-based, and I can easily devour cashew and pistachio nuts every day in my life. That's an addiction.
As far as I know, like even just meat as like a light garnish was typically like the norm of most like tradition or most like indigenous cultures. Like meat wasn't like a staple. It was more just like, ooh, a little bit of meat that we got from the hunt, like just
like a tiny bit a week, like a little tiny amount every week.
Yeah, and the sad part about that is meat wasn't a thing that they ate like regularly like that. But I know when they found something that was very, very sweet or sugary, they overindulge in sugary and sweet things because you never know when you're going to see it again, and you don't want to share it with nobody else. And you typically it's basically like women now when they had the Oreo stash from their children and the significant other basically, or the hidden stash of like Haagen-Dazs and shit like that.
Leave hidden stashes alone. Now y'all are making me fucking hungry.
I had something to eat before I come on the stream, so
I ate before I got on the stream also, so
it's
going around there.
Fuck it, I'm gonna put that curry in my oven. I'll be back in a minute.
This been on a serious curry kick. I'm starting to think he might be Indian or Jamaican.
So it's like this lack of knowledge and this lack of diversity of trying other things is that's I think that's one of the main reasons why they was derived to eating their own species.
Yeah, or like the go back to religion. It's like religion can tell you like, okay, you ate a bunch of Haagen-Dazs, but you can still be saved. Whereas like most people are really looking after spirituality that they're cut off from with the diet that they consume.
Yeah. When you look at Jainism, the high monks of Jainism, when they're reaching old age, they actually die through fasting. They want to fast so that they don't consume any life, any harm, or anything to reach spiritual evolution.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like that they die on such a high vibration connected to the higher power, almost high.
Yeah, true.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And monks, and that's why a lot of monks die through starvation. It's not actually starvation; that they just want to pass over into the next existence on a spiritual high, and you get that through by fasting.
Yeah,
and not eating.
True. Very true.
Interesting.
Because I know I was telling Amanely Load about my diet. It typically changes based on what I actually need and what I don't need that week for all intents and purposes. Like I typically go a lot of times without eating meat unless I really, really need it, or unless I'm like injured, or unless I'm like suffering from something like medically or something like that. Then I typically will pick up meat. But typically I tend to eat a lot more like veggies, a lot more. I tend to have a lot more veggie or a lot more. I tend to have a lot of vegetable, a high starch. A vegetable diet for all intents and purposes is typically what my diet is typically what my diets usually are. And the sad part about that is, like, I'll take on meat like a good example. Billy the Goat over there eating curry all the damn time. I typically will eat like a curry dish without meat in it. I'll have like vegetables instead for all intents and purposes. So it's one of those things where it's like I typically I don't really need meat in my diet if I can go without it, or if I had to I can go all meat basically. And it's one of those things where it's like I can fluctuate between the two, or I can pick up what they refer to as a it's a Neolithic diet or something like that, where like our warriors
Nuts and
diet.
berries.
Yeah,
Mhm.
warriors diet basically. I can do that as well when it comes down to it if I have to. So it's one of those things where it's like I can do roots. I've been known to like boil root down to nothing and pretty much just drink the juices off the root, or just cut the root up into many different like sections and just
Yeah.
suck on it basically.
People do not realise how nutritious and long-lasting and carbohydrated full roots are.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we just eat berries
And
and grapes and
how much fiber
bananas
it
and
has in it as well too.
yeah, yeah. But like a lot of roots, like I mean, like the Chinese traditions, a lot of roots have their roots have medical appliances.
Hmm.
And we back in the day, we used to eat these because the women, but the men used to go out building stuff, land mapping, and the women used to go out foraging and picking up roots, picking up flowers, spices, dyes, so they could create, the tribal paint and stuff, and sew and cotton and everything. The women used to do that. They used to be in touch with the earth, and obviously, we're thousands and thousands and thousands of years away from that now, aren't we? So.
Yeah, it's like feminism and New Age. They got rid of everything that basically was like an auxiliary part of like human growth and human sustenance.
Yep.
Like, and they replaced it with all this cosmetic stuff, and they
Yep.
replaced health and exercise with, yeah, like baking and
Cosmetic surgery and shit like that.
cosmetic surgery and cuisines. All these different
Yep.
cuisines for hospitality's sake to impress other cultures.
And another thing that I've noticed about the whole entire diet culture for all intents and purposes is all the stuff that people take for granted. Where like America used to make it without without tampering around with it. Like all this stuff where everybody's like allergic to gluten or dairy or dairy or things like that. The sad part about that is if they just cut out the middleman of like pasteurization, that person would be fine. If they cut out the middleman, because the sad part about that is like dairy free milk is basically milk that hasn't been pasteurized.
Wow.
It's unpasteurized milk, literally. So that non-dairy or what they call it lactose milk is basically unpasteurized milk. But the sad part about that, if you were to drink unpasteurized milk, you would go to jail.
Yeah,
like think about that.
Legal over here as well, yeah.
So think about that. Like, okay, so a company could make it and make money off of it, but if I was to drink it off that cow, I could be arrested or fined for it.
Well, this is guy that I know I don't know him. I know of him. He's a YouTuber. It's called John St. Julian, and he runs a kids health centre. He set it up all himself. I don't know how big it is now. Last time I checked in, it was over 100 kids big. He saved from African streets, and he says he's fully plant based, but he says he gives his children some whey and dairy, not dairy, but whey products, because sometimes it's the only thing that regains the strength.
Yeah.
So there's definitely something within it that helps, definitely.
Yeah. Very true.
He hangs around with the Maasai warriors and everything. So this guy, if you check him out, man, it's really, really fucking knowledge. If you want to know esoteric stuff about religion and all about that, man. John St. Julian, Feather's Tail. His charity is called Feather's Tail.
Oh, definitely check him out.
Yeah, very, very switched on. Very, very clever. Hello.
Okie waving to us.
Holy shit, I hope he's wearing pants.
I hope he's wearing pants. I would not. That'd be something that Baron Yam would not do in his live stream.
We got planes here. We don't want to see anymore.
I think you mean to say Wind would do, not me. I wear pants. I'm civilized.
Both of you. He said civilized. I'm gonna tell him you said that shit.
I know what a salad fork is.
What you know what a salad fork is? No, he didn't. He took some. That was from Baron. Was that from? No, that was from the live stream. That wasn't from Baron to say that.
Wind has said
I know
that.
what a salad fork.
Said that.
I know what a salad fork is. I'm civilized. I know what a salad fork is. As he drives around with no pants on. But it's like you were in a stream with boxers on or something like that. You said one time.
Oh yeah, I was. Yeah.
Yeah, my point exactly. So you and when?
I think when shit hits the fan, everyone's health is going to be
We're supposed to be
super
naked. We're supposed to be naked as a human race.
naked in
This
human
guy,
mode.
he's okay. Anyway, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Go his goofy ass.
All right.
No, I think one's health or everybody's health is going to be super important when shit hits the fan because you won't have access to medicines.
I'm dead then.
A good, a good, a
Well, I
good,
think
good thing- a good
I
thing
think
for
I'll be
you.
fine.
A good thing for you, Billy, is that a plant-based diet is found to be the only cure to diabetes so far, diet-wise. So
No,
that's good
no.
knowledge.
Well,
Well, no, the problem
maybe
with that,
for
the,
type 2, but type
yeah,
1, my
yeah,
pancreas
that's
is
enough.
dead.
Well, and the
You
sad
know.
part about that is what you got to worry about with a lot of diabetes people is like if you eat a lot of starch, that turns
Yeah.
into sugar,
Yeah.
which in turn,
Yeah,
inflammates your inflammates them.
yeah. It's good for the diet.
If which pretty much makes it diabetes worse for all intents and purposes because it's like so it's one of those things where like he's gonna have to really change his diet ridiculously to pull off of that. Then like there's stuff that just has natural sugar in it that has a
Yeah,
shit ton of
you got to
natural
stay off
sugar
fruit.
that you
Stay
don't
off
even
fruit.
know. Like you don't even know has not a
Yeah.
lot of natural sugar in it. And it's like I'm just you're eating it, and now you all of a sudden you start feeling dizzy and shit like that. Now you fell out on a curb. It's
Yeah.
like,
And as the sugar gets low, the liver will pump out glycon. I think it's
yeah,
glycon.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
um, yeah, just in case anyone's wondering, like, I'm a type 1 diabetic, so insulin injections for me. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, but
So
you did tell me that when your diet was better, you had to manage it less.
that's because he's eating curry now. His dad's kind of fucked up because he's eating curry now. He's been on this curry kick for like a week or a month or so now.
Well, so we've been talking about curries
I
and
know,
a lot of
right?
Indian talk, and it's
My
just like,
bad,
oh
my
man.
bad, my bad.
And then it made me
I
remember.
feel
I
guilty.
had flashbacks. I had like hallucinating flashbacks. Like, oh, I remember curry,
Right? That was my
Bombay
bad. That
potato.
was actually I actually kept mentioning curry because I kept on mentioning stuff like chicken tikka marsala and biryani and stuff like that.
Yeah, I thought we were
So
gonna have
like
a curry
that was
night.
my fault.
You know.
That was my fault. My
You
bad.
know, you know, the biggest thing I miss, food wise, is the 3-in-1 I used to get from Chinese. I used to make it myself as well. Egg fried rice, curry sauce, and chips. I miss that like a motherfucker.
Egg
Because
fried rice.
you can't. It's not the same without the egg fried rice. It's just something about egg fried rice that just makes it.
Yeah, you ain't allowed to eat that. You're not allowed to eat that if you're vegan. Nope.
But well, I'm not vegan. I'm plant based.
Oh, okay. So you could eat that then.
If I wanted to, but I choose
Oh,
not to.
okay.
You know, I don't subscribe to the vegan belief because I think they're more fucking Marxist, fucking feminist idiots.
Yeah, I think so too. I agree with you 100% on that one because typically that's been railroaded and bought in under the flag of leftists. Because typically,
Yeah.
most of the people that are vegans tend to be leftist leaning people.
Well, I went to a vegan
Yeah, that's
festival.
like why a lot of people are carnivore and meatitarians because they're like, fuck feminism. It's like, wait, I don't understand the connection.
The knee-jerk reaction.
I know, right? Yeah, I've noticed that too.
Well, me, I mean, I was like, I carried over my college diet, so it's not really health. It really isn't that healthy. I was starting to learn how to cook though, but again, it's food that is supermarket food. So, you know, I understand like my limitations if I were to have to like provide for myself. Like the good thing is that your body doesn't really like reject unless you go really too far or you have a condition. Your body's not gonna like reject natural food whereas it'll reject medicine and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's like all it is. It's a process, like you were saying before in another live stream. You're saying it was a process.
But like you were
It's always
saying, man,
everything's a process. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry about that, Billy.
what you're saying about when shit hits the fan and it'd be a problem with people's medical, I'll be a bit more. Well, yeah, there'll be a problem. Like a lot of people will be sick, but the people who have addictive behaviors are gonna be, flipping out big time.
No, yeah, they're going to be
Yeah.
going through withdrawal and shit, especially these
Yeah.
feminists, because they're not going to have the amenities anymore. So women are definitely going to be going through withdrawal and throwing a fit.
And you want to see some road rage on a big scale.
Well, that's not going to be road rage. That's just going to be pure rage.
Yeah.
That's going to be hallway rage, road rage, land rage.
I've got 2 cars on the street outside my house that have their windows broken, and there's another
Really?
one around the corner. So car crime has shot up recently around here.
I believe it.
A lot of smash and grabs, I suppose.
Well, people
Damn,
are
that sucks.
scavenging for money, aren't they? The people have got no money anywhere.
Yeah.
Drugs are going down in the pan as well. You know, in the UK, well, my area specifically, I don't know the whole of the UK, but my area, the marijuana and the drug use is starting to get really fucking hard to get, and so people are struggling. These dealers, these low end dealers, these third man runners, them struggling to get their drug supply because they can't be a third man anymore. So they haven't got the drugs to run.
Very
And
true.
so they're resorting to crime and scamming and thieving and manipulating.
Well, you also got to take consideration a lot of the places that actually had where the drugs were actually coming from was on lockdown anyway, so they weren't going nowhere coming into the country. So that typically hinders drug flow anyway.
Yeah, but the army and not the army, sorry, the secret services and the governments, they're the biggest importers of drugs. So this was done on purpose. So
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying though it's down though. But typically, when they're down, the country relies on like the drug cartels basically. And if the drug cartels can't leave their country or it's locked down, or if let's like a good example, there was a couple countries that literally had like travel bans against certain countries. So the drugs came from that country. You're typically not going to get your drugs or anything like that, or a shipment of drugs. And it's simply like if you put a travel ban on anything, that country in general, that means nothing's coming from that country. No packages, no people, no drugs, no, So it's one of those things where it's like you literally had to like go elsewhere to find drugs, basically. Because the sad part about that, once you think about it, drugs are kind of sort of centralized once you think about it in certain countries for all intents and purposes. But you got your in Afghanistan you got your poppy fields, and in Mexico, North America, you pretty much got your weed plants. And the sad part about it, a lot of the European Union and a lot of the European countries actually had bans against the United States. So it's one of those things where it's like, well, we're not going to get our weed this week.
Well, that's what that Tico that hits home. That really hits home for me because I used to rely on a good smoke just to get my head out of the reality of this shithole.
Yeah,
it's bad. It's a bad addiction which I needed to conquer anyway. But
like I said, leave the planet. You gotta leave the planet.
Yeah.
This guy.
Since March, there's been no good weed in the UK whatsoever. It's been all this flavoured shit imported from all these new growers, and they don't know anything about growing weed. They just grow their old shit and sell it.
Very true.
I also believe that being high on life is new age. Is pretty much new age.
Yes, new age Satanism. Yeah, what they've done, they took spirituality and they want to turn it into accepting being a slave and a blue pill, rather than evolving your spirit to realize we're all slaves.
Because I know you gotta find something. You gotta find something to imbibe on. Like some people drink alcohol. Like that is a spirit. Same with any like other
alcohol. Alcohol is actually a demon name.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's
true.
like you. Some people I feel like are more transparent about it, whereas people are like, I'm high on life. I'm not talking about anybody who's like in the red pill, but like people who, like what Amanely was saying, people who like do it just to virtue signal, because that's what it is. A lot of these soberness matters, sober lives matters. It's a bunch of virtue signaling.
Yep.
Like what? Unless you're doing something amazingly philanthropic, it's like I don't buy it. So if it's not something like a substance, then it's some sort of emotional and mental manipulation. I mean, I'm pretty sure every person has at least a family member that is, quote unquote, affected by drug abuse. like what's his
Yeah.
name? But Joe Biden was saying in his debate. So it's not something that people can detach from and like live, because unless you're living like indigenous people,
Well, no.
there's
The sad part about that, the only problem with that argument, Yam, is the fact that people can actually disattach from that for all intents and purposes because people tend to be more selfish. This is typically why we talk about we can't have communism because everybody's too selfish to be communist. So typically, what happens is basically like what we talked about with the cell phones and helping people instead of like recording the shit for hours on end. Somebody should probably call the cops or pick up the phone and call the cops or instead of like trying to record it and put it on trying to get likes and likes, posts, and attention for all intents and purposes. This is typically what people are doing. So people are like literally ignoring stuff like this and are pretty much letting it happen and foregoing it just for clicks and likes and stuff like that.
Mhm.
So the sad part about that is everybody is detached from it because the sad part about that is nothing more. It's nothing more than it. Or like a good example of that is like if it's like a white person that's suffering from it, all the black community we got to say, well, it's not me, so I ain't got nothing to do with that. The same thing goes for the white community. If the black community suffering, well, it ain't us, so it ain't nobody that look like it ain't nobody. It ain't me, so I ain't got nothing to worry about. And even if it ain't the actual person, it's so bad now. If it ain't like it might be like your son or it might be like your cousin or something like that. It ain't you, so you don't really care. So it's typically that's where we've gotten at in a society. If you've noticed. So the sad part about that is you can detach yourself from it,
Well,
and
I
people
don't
do
think
it on a
that's
regular
like,
basis.
yeah, that's true. I mean, I don't see society as doing drugs. I see it as individuals. Society is more like the society is more likely to make it so that there's scarcity or like an abundance of a certain substance because it's association with other people. So it's like, yeah, that's why people kill each other over drugs. Because to be honest, if you get high, you're not looking to kill somebody. You know.
Well, the sad part about that legalizing a lot of that marijuana stuff
Mhm.
that actually cut down a lot of crime too, though, in a lot of those states. And the sad part about that, something I've noticed about a lot of those states that legalize marijuana is a lot of those politicians actually smoke marijuana.
Oh, chin hella hairy.
Chinchilla Harry, yeah, basically.
Chin's
A
hella
lot of
scary.
yeah, a lot of those politicians actually smoke weed. So it's one of those things where if they legalized it, 9 times out of 10 they partake in it.
But a
Wow.
lot of politicians do a lot more than fucking weed up cocaine and fucking heroin and
Oh
everything.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well,
If
I
they
guess.
start legalizing cocaine, then that'd be a whole nother story. They would
Yeah.
literally have to break up. They would literally
Yeah,
have to break out an argument for that one, an argument and a half just to legalize that.
yeah. I heard an inside. I got no names or nothing. I just remember watching this clip ages ago. He says they used to do cocaine because the lifestyle and dealing with so many people is so fucking hectic. It's the only way to stay on this type of level to be social.
True.
Hmm. I mean, like if you're a dictator and you didn't trust the people that you ruled over, I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to legalize a drug because then they would like, I don't know, maybe they wouldn't need you anymore, or they'd somehow achieve a higher state of awareness and be like, well, why are you a dictator? Doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
So
It's how
I
you
get what
control.
you're
It's how
saying.
you control the population, isn't it? By if it's free flow drug flow, you've got no control of people's production of it because people will be growing it in their own fucking back gardens.
Yeah.
So
You gotta have some
they
control
lose
over it.
control of the
This is
flow.
typically why a lot of the states have this license, so you can actually have like a what they call it a dispensary.
Yeah,
Because
Mm-hmm.
you ain't finna just be growing shit randomly without them knowing and the government not getting their cut, basically.
yep.
Because the government's always going to get their cut from it.
And if the Rothschilds are in a
True.
bad mood, they'll send out the federal police out to confiscate and shut the dispensary down.
Yeah, and the sad part about it because it's still legal.
Legal or
It's
not.
still illegal on a federal level, but it's legal
Yep.
on a state level.
Yep. And the federal is pretty much owned by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds.
And the
So
federal is like,
David, I need a spliff. Go out and raid some some dispensaries. I need a puff puff.
oh man, we're
Well, yeah.
starting around the 2 hour 30 minute mark. Y'all want to call it and just save it for next week, or y'all want to keep going?
I know I got a book.
You got a book. What's the
I
book
know.
called?
I know. I probably can't stay long. So, but
I,
yeah.
All right, I guess we're going to reconvene back here next week then.
Tonight's movie
Next Sunday.
cleared,
Okie dokie.
so I get to play my movie
Next
tonight.
Sunday.
Next
I will
Sunday.
be absolutely free. Not just free. I'll be absolutely free.
You're simple as hell, this guy. Anyway, do your outros, y'all.
Absolute knowledge's cousin.
Yeah, absolutely free. That's absolute knowledge,
Absolutely
cousin.
free. No, guys, I'm wait, what was it? I'm Baron Yoda. Great, the stream was. Be back. I will. Next
This
Sunday.
is the Hidden MGTOW. Come check my channel tonight, please. Thank you very much. There's going to be a movie on tonight. A good one. Again, as usual. 10:30 tonight.
Roll over
10:30 p.m. I'll just roll right over that so I can get the fuck out of here. This is the Hidden MGTOW, a.k.a. Mr. fucking MGTOW, a.k.a. a bunch of other names you haven't heard of yet. I'll be seeing you soon.
All right. Peace. Go ahead, Yam. Finish out yours, Yam.
Okay, and Hidden, why don't you lay out those energy drinks, man? That's a
a hell of a drug.
Monster's a hell of a drug. But this is Barry Yam. Be well, and look out for all of these content creators on MGTOW.tv, BitChute, brand new tube, and yeah, keep going down those red pill rabbit holes, even if you're grinding at your job like Yam. But follow Amanely's advice and take a break every once in a while for your own health. But thank you for listening and your sanity. But I'm checking out. Bye, guys.
Right. See ya.
There's one.
Which one do I want to go next?
Who's left?
I'll give you paper, scissors, stones.
I'm guessing that's your outro.
You need an AMC voice that says like, next time on the cutting edge.
Yeah, right, next time on Bleeding Edge Red Pill.
There's Black Pill Radio when you need him.
Black Pill Radio already left. He already did his outro.
Yeah, but he's got the proper radio voice.
Yeah, he does.
And Hidden just dips.
Yeah.
And then you have to start the next episode with like, previously on the Bleeding Edge.
Right. Right. Previously on the Bleeding Edge. That's all the big TV shows do it.
This is Amanely
Previously on Power.
Check out Billy's channel. There's not got much on it, but it will do soon. The stuff he's working on. Fantastic guy. Really intelligent, really in tune with psychology. Check out all the others.
Don't tell them that.
America's DeVille. Has he even got any content? If he has, check it out. Have I missed anybody in the chat? Well, I suppose Tico can cover all that, can't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, so check all the people in the chat. Check out everyone else in the chat, in the stream. If you're into plant-based eating, you can check mine out. I'm onto that kind of wavelength at the moment, but I'm into my red pill, truth, knowledge, and health. And that's it, really. If you like what you hear, subscribe, like this stream, and over and out.
Awesome. I suppose I'm next then. Thanks, Tico, for bringing us all together for this. And it's going to be a series, it seems. So,
yeah.
Thanks. I don't really have an outro. I'm going to go eat my curry before it burns in the oven.
Right? Thank you for coming, most definitely, buddy. Thank you.
Good to have it. Good seeing you, man. And
always
everyone that's in the chat room and everything. Take care. None of us get out of life alive. So if you don't fear life, you won't fear death.
True story. And this is Tico Tren. We'll catch y'all next Sunday with the Bleeding Edge. The staples of the show will be Black Pill Radio, Amanely Load, BillyTheGoat, and myself, until we can figure out another person that we can add to the team, basically. And you'll see like people coming in and out every now and again. So you'll see people coming in and out that, put in their 2 cents and stuff like that. So it's one of those things where like we'll be the staples, and we'll pretty much add people to the panel and stuff like that who fit what we're talking about for all intents and purposes. And we're pretty much talking about different topics that is just red pill, that is just straight red pill, and like just the vast knowledge of red pill. So it's been a pleasure like hosting this, and I love everybody, and it's always a pleasure serving the Manosphere. And y'all be blessed and have a good one, and be blessed and treat yourselves like milk and do not spoil yourselves. Y'all be good now. Y'all here? Adios.